What do you mean, fart? Is it a fart to kill a bystander or a fart to kill a bystander? Asked the fat man, puzzled. Thin brow pick, I mean, what you say is bullshit, even such bullshit can be said. What kind of character and status is Xuanxia Taigong? Will he go to kill a side branch son? Even if that Shentong really has something to kill, the Archduke of Xuanxia will punish the whole family, and punish the collateral branch. It's a matter of nothingness. In a word, the Emperor Xuanxia wants to add crime to it, so why not say so? So it is? But why can't so many ancestors see things that Brother 18 can see? The fat man asked with a frown. 96, or if you practice every day, you'll never enter the country, and you'll rust your head. You can't understand the key. Let me tell you, it's a matter of weighing the pros and cons. The thin man looked around and saw that it was far away from Tiancheng and there was no one else, so he continued. If you want to blame it, you can only blame Xuanxia Taigong's weak group, and that one's vigorous. If the patriarch approved the Xuanxia Taigong, the Xuanjia family would split up, and that one would be divorced from the family. If there is no justice, the ancestors will let it happen? No one came out to say a word of justice? The fat man grumbled indignantly. In fact, I heard that the opinions of the ancestors are not unified, but they haven't reached an agreement yet. But that one has the support of settling down, which helps more. The people who went out to encircle and suppress the Yun family belong to that group. They lost some people before. If these people lose their hands again, the contrast between the two forces will change. At that time, the ancestors' ideas may change. Because it's not convenient for the ancestors to intervene in the affairs between the two branches to avoid internal strife, so let them develop. Even if they lose their hands, the ancestors will not do it. The thin man continued to whisper. Why can't the ancestors intervene? Who dares not listen to them? Asked the fat man suspiciously. It's a long story. It's related to the previous struggles of various branches and some clan rules. In short, don't ask if you don't understand them. Be careful with the clan rules. The thin man patted the fat man and warned. Well, Brother 18, how do you know so much? Who did you listen to? Asked the fat man curiously. 96, you have a lot of bullshit. Don't ask if you shouldn't ask. It's still important to do business. The skinny man yelled, and they accelerated their escape. Not far behind them, Tian stopped tracking and suspended in the air. It was the first time he had heard of the secret affairs of the Xian family. I believe that even if Yunzhong didn't know before, he must have known after searching Xuanwei's soul. However, it did not mention a word. Maybe it's because I think it's too far away from me, or I don't want to get involved in the internal fight of Xian family. However, it is obvious that with the strength of Yunzhong and others, it is still difficult to protect themselves, let alone to do justice for Xuanxia. It is obvious that the ancestors of the Xian family are the great monks in Yupu realm. They let Xuanji do wrong because of all kinds of worries. Yi Tian is deeply ashamed of these people. But there is nothing he can do about it. At this time, the only thing we can do is to find a way to rescue Xuanxia and Xianfeng, but it should not be easy to do. Yi Tian fought and flew back to Tiancheng. Soon after, Yi Tian successfully steals and flies into Tiancheng, and goes to the space channel position marked by Yunzhong. On the way, he carefully avoided several Xuanjia high-level friars who were flying with the imperial sword, and came to the area without danger. Yi Tian shows his eye and looks down a little bit. Here a row of dense construction area, high and low scattered, not one. Because Shenwei didn't know exactly where the space passage was, he just knew a general direction, and the scope of Yun's Hongyi's delimitation was also 10 li wide. In such a vast area, it is not easy to find such a hidden entrance to the space. Moreover, with the help of the Eye of the Source Heaven, Yi Tian can see that there are 2 monks in this area. It's just a small area, and more places don't know how many senior monks there are. In the end, Yi Tian stopped looking for the space channel. Even if he found it, there were still friars guarding there, and there were several fake channels that confused the real with the fake. In short, there were many difficulties. He decided to let the matter go first, and first go to investigate the situation of Xian Crack and Xian Feng. Looking around, Yi Tian deflected a direction and flew to the place marked by Yun Zhong. It was a big hall, called the prison hall. Below the main hall is a prison, in which Xuanxie and Xianfeng are held in different cells. However, Yun Zhong did not mark the specific cell. This picture is of great help to Yi Tian, and avoids many troubles in field exploration. In the distance, the dome hall covering a large area should be the place where Xin Crack and Xianfeng are held. Under the light of Yuan Tian's eye, no field was found above the hall, and there was no invisible monk of the Xuanjia family. Yi Tian floated to the top of the hall and continued to explore downward with Yuan Tian's eye. In the main hall, there were 4 monks sitting cross-legged, and they couldn't see what realm it was. Each of the 4 occupies a room, which is located in the 4 corners of the main hall. Under the main hall, in the soil, Yi Tian looked a little bit, and at the beginning, he didn't find anything unusual. But with the change of perspective, Yi Tian saw a stone ladder from the ground to the underground. This should be the entrance to the dungeon. Yi Tian's heart of joy began to look down along the stone ladder. Stone ladder has been inclined to the underground, about 700 or 800 meters underground. Yi Tian finally saw the prison he was looking for. This prison is much bigger than expected, with many cells, but there are only 8 people in it, each occupying a cell. The cell is made of unknown materials, but it looks very solid. On the outside of the cell, there is a field with pure black lines and runes. The partition between cells is also made of the same material as the cell wall. All cells are built side by side, and the side facing the wide hall is made of dense metal columns. In the hall, a middle-aged monk was sitting on a futon meditating. As soon as you look up, everything in the cell is clear. Yi Tian specially looked at the ground, which was also made of prison wall materials. This kind of material could not be used to escape. The 8 people in the cell were doing different things. Some were meditating on their knees, some were lying on the stone couch, some were pacing in the cell, and some were standing in front of the railing and staring at the hall, not knowing what they were thinking. Yi Tian carefully observed all the situations. In the end, he had to admit that the prison was really like an iron wall. None of the 8 prisoners showed any signs of mania or hysteria. I just don't know if their cultivation is restricted by prohibition. Up to now, Yi Tiankai realized that he had overlooked the most important thing, that is, he had not met Xuanxie and Xianfeng, and did not know them. The original idea was to find the prison and save the 2 people inside. Unexpectedly, there were 8 people in the prison, all of whom were male monks. At this time, it's obviously unrealistic to go back and ask Yun Zhong what Xuanxie and Xianfeng look like. However, he remembers that when Yunqing first saw Xian, she once looked at her face and said, like. The object of image is Xianfeng. Through this clue, he looks at the 8 prisoners one by one. Finally, in the 4th cell, Yi Tian finds such a person. It's not easy for a monk to see his age, but he's handsome, well-proportioned, and looks 7 or 8 points similar to Xian. It should be good. This person should be Xianfeng. Then Yi Tian sweeps the other 7 people one by one, and finally locks the middle-aged monk in the 2nd cell. This man was the monk who stood in front of the fence with his hands down. He looked like Xianfeng. The rest of them have no resemblance. Yi Tian, who was always cautious, did not confirm their identities based on this single clue. He continued to observe for a while, and found that the friars in the 4th cell occasionally looked to the left. Although they could see nothing, they still looked to the left more than once. But the monk, who was standing with his hands down, occasionally looked to the right side, but his eyes swept slightly. But Yi Tian had an idea. There should be no problem. It's normal for father and son to know where they are. Now that the target of rescue has been determined 9 times out of 10, the next problem is how to rescue. It seems that it is very difficult to rescue Xuanxie and Xianfeng without disturbing the guard monk or the other 6 people in the same cell. Moreover, the whole process also needs the complete cooperation of Xuanxie and Xianfeng. As for killing the Watcher, Yi Tian's idea just flashed by and gave up completely. Even if he was a monk in Yuanyingjing, Yi Tian couldn't get rid of him without a sound. Any sound will arouse the vigilance of the 4 monks in the main hall. After all, they can sit here. If there is no way to feel the situation below, there will be no significance here. Yi Tian is suspended in the air, looking at the situation in the prison, pondering for a long time. After a long time, there is no absolutely perfect plan. But he chose the one with the least risk from all the methods he could think of and was ready to implement it. After deducing the whole plan from the beginning to the end, Tian moved slowly to the rear of the hall. In a flower garden 3 or 4 miles away from the main hall, Tian fell down, and then spread the earth to escape into the underground. All the way to the 700 meters underground, Yi turned around and dived in the direction of the dungeon. Although the distance of 3 or 4 li is not far, Tian is very careful. He doesn't make any noise or cause any abnormal reaction underground. For a long time, he finally came to the outside of the prison. Tian didn't start immediately, but 3 or 4 meters away from the field, he went down to the bottom of the prison, and then turned around the field to the bottom of the second cell. Looking up, Tian sees the figure of the target through the thick metal plate at the bottom of the field in the prison. Then he looked at the monk who was guarding the prison, who was still meditating with his knees crossed, and his actions did not attract the slightest attention of the other side. At this time, Tian carefully observed this field. It was a rather complicated field, but it was much worse than the divine prohibition at the entrance of Xuanjia. A moment later, Tian already knew how to crack this field. He carefully picked up a field line and began to weave it, just as he did in the field of Insect Valley in southern Yunnan. He spent some time to weave a field portal. After everything is ready, Tian does not continue to take action on this prison, but Dun goes to the bottom of the 4th prison and continues to weave. Because of the first experience, the field portal in this area takes much less time to compose than before. Looking at the door, Tian dived back to the bottom of the second cell again and released his mini phoenix through the field door. The little phoenix gently arched the metal plate, and the metal plate quickly melted upward. When the metal plate more than 2 feet thick was about to melt to the top, the phoenix beak gently arched on the metal plate. A hole the size of a fist appeared in the metal plate. At this time, Tian quickly put away the mini phoenix and watched the situation in the prison. The target didn't find the change of the bottom of the prison, and the monk who meditated with his knees also didn't find that the bottom of the prison was melted out of the hole. It seems that this plan is feasible. Tian's heart is relaxed. He takes out the wooden statue Yunqing gave him from Shumi Ring and holds it in his hand. Then he carefully sends a message to the target and says, "Xuanxie Taoist friend, don't have any radical reaction after hearing my words. I'm Yunqing Taoist friend. Please come to rescue you and Xianfeng. If you are still in cultivation, please nod your head. If you are forbidden, please shake your head. I have a keepsake from Taoist friend Yunqing. You can see it when you look back." Don't say anything. Hearing Tian's voice, the friar was shocked. He turned to look behind him and saw the wooden statue next to the underground hole. Repressing his excitement, he walked slowly, sat down with his knees crossed, picked up the wooden statue with his back to the guard, took a deep look, and then shook his head gently. Tian immediately understood that this person is no doubt, and the whole body has been banned, unable to play a fighting force. However, this situation has long been considered by Tian. As a result, he continued to preach, "My friend, you should obey my arrangement. Is the 4th cell Xianfeng? Please nod your head, not your head. If there is anything, I can see it with my fingers in the air." After hearing the words, he nodded quietly. Then he stood up, stepped on the hole, and put his hands on his back. But his fingers began to write in the air according to what Tian said. When he was writing, Tianyuan's eyes lit up and looked at it carefully. The first word, which is easy to recognize at a glance, is 8. The second word is also an 8 word. Is it 864? What's the meaning of this? Tian can't help but frown, and the earth's brain mends it. Then, Xuanxie wrote down the third word. Although there are many symbols, Tian clearly recognized it as do. There is no suspense about the fourth word. Tian can see that it is a word of rescue. 8-8 all save. Tian gets up and recites it silently. He doesn't feel very smooth. What ghost is ba ba ba? Read again. Tian suddenly wake up. Where is the word Baba Dujio written in Xuanxie? It may be Ba Ren Dujio. The second word is run. Thinking of this, Yi Tian's heart once again sounded a word truth, save two are so difficult, let Lao Tzu 8 save, this is not a fire to get a shudder, but play with fire to burn. However, although he thought so in his heart, Yi Tian was confirmed by a voice, the meaning of Xian Crack Taoist friend is that all 8 people in the prison are saved? Hearing the sound of Yi Tian, Xian Crack nodded silently. Yi Tian quickly explained, it's very difficult to save all 8 people. Who knows Xian Crack smell speech, but continue to write with finger in the back, leaf day after reading, feel a headache. Xian Crack wrote 5 words, even up to C as, don't save me, don't go. Although he felt speechless about this mysterious crack, Yi Tian admired this person very much. The 6 people must be closely related to him. For the sake of the 6 people, he would rather put himself and his son together than live alone. A man indeed. In desperation, Yi Tian had to continue to say, I try my best. I'm not sure I can succeed. I'll send you to the cave later, and I'll take care of the rest. When he heard the word cave, his eyes lit up. All the monks who have cave are the great monks of Yupu realm. Now his cultivation is completely lost, and he can't feel the realm of Yi Tian. Even in the heyday of cultivation, when Yi Tian deliberately hides his breath, he can't even feel the breath of Yi Tian, let alone the realm of cultivation. Yi Tian also made use of this point, deliberately matching with Taoist friends and calling himself old man. The purpose is to pretend to be a monk of high realm, so that the other party will not know that he is only a monk of Longmen realm, and then he will have no confidence in himself, so that he will spend more time in the middle. What he said about cave is actually the ring of spirit beast. It's impossible to take out the cave here. We can only hurt them in the ring of spirit beast. But worried that this person refused to enter the spirit beast ring, I had to say so. I didn't expect that under the wrong circumstances, Xuanxie took himself as the great monk of Yupu realm. This, Yi Tian is not aware of. After discussing with Xuanxie, Yi Tian left here and began to weave the field portal at the bottom of the other 6 cells. The more he weaves, the more skillful Yi Tian is. In the end, all the 6 field portals are finished, and it doesn't take much time. Next, Yi Tian comes to the 4th cell and releases the mini phoenix again. He makes a small hole in the bottom of the cell and inserts the pearl flower that Du Mingyue gave him. Then, according to the content of the conversation with Xuanxie, he set it to Xianfeng. But the definition of Xianfeng seems to be a little insufficient. When Yi Tian suddenly hears Xian, he looks a little excited. This caused the caretaker, who was meditating, to look up. Just Xianfeng in a twinkling of an eye, then realized oneself to lose posture, quickly restored before of state. Xianfeng Taoist friend, I have discussed with your father. Will you save 8 of you later? Remember not to disturb the guards. I will send you into the magic weapon cave at that time, and leave the rest to me. See Xian breeze restored calm, Leaf Day continues to transmit sound to say. Xianfeng held the pearl flower in his hand and nodded silently. There was light in his eyes. He was obviously very excited. Look at Xianfeng. Yi Tian comes to the next cell. Here is a middle-aged monk with a beard. He looks very powerful. Yi Tian saw that this man was sleeping on the stone bed, with a heartless look, and then directly omitted the past. The next cell is a middle-aged monk who looks like a scholar. He is meditating on his knees on the futon. Yi Tian still uses the mini phoenix to drill a hole the size of a pinhole, and then says, Dao Yu, no matter what you hear, you must keep calm and not be noticed by the guards. I will tell you the whole story later. He made his voice as small as a gnat. The middle-aged monk, who looked like a scholar, needed to listen to himself, and then connect the whole sentence to reflect on it. This time was enough to calm his mind, so after counting the breath, he nodded his head imperceptibly to show that he knew. Yi Tian continued to say, I have finished the negotiation with Xuanxie. I will rescue you today. I will keep calm. Later I will come back and put you into the cave. I will try my best to cooperate. With that, Yi Tian has turned to leave and comes to the next cell. Using about the same method, Yi Tian alerted the remaining 4 people. As for the strong man who always sleeps in a big sleep, Yi Tian once again skips by. He is not sure what reaction he will have when he hears his voice in his sleep, so he does not take this risk. All the preparations are ready. Next, Tian starts the operation. The first rescue object he chooses is Xianfeng. Maybe it's a little selfish, because this person is Xian's father, and Xian is her own disciple. Be closer than others. This time, he communicated with Xianfeng for a few words, and then released the mini phoenix. The hot phoenix flame touched the metal plate, and the metal plate that had melted before quickly broke a big hole. Immediately, the invisible Tian enters the cell quietly. His mind locks Xianfeng and sends him into the ring of spirit beast quietly. Next breath, Tian has disappeared from this cell. Next, the mini phoenix melts the cell where the mysterious crack is located, and follows the same method. Tian enters the cell and, with the cooperation of the mysterious crack, takes him into the spirit beast ring unconsciously. Later, Tian repeated his old skill and successively sent the other 5 monks who had already communicated with each other into the ring of spirit beast. It's time for the last big bearded man. Tian takes out the mini phoenix and melts the metal plate. The metal plate of this scale can be finished in a breath under the scorching heat of the mini phoenix. However, Tian just melted out of the hole. The monk who was guarding the prison unconsciously looked up and suddenly found that the dark crack had disappeared from the cell out of thin air, but there was a hole at the bottom of the cell. When he scanned other cells, he found that all the prisoners except Show Bearded Man had disappeared. Someone robbed the prison. The man gave a loud drink, which spread the sound far away. In his sight, however, he heard the bearded man sleeping in the cell, but he let out a dull hum, and then disappeared. There's a ghost in the Xian family. This person once again a big drink, the body shape move, opened the Chiu Beard big man's prison door, along the leaf day melts the whole earth to escape but down. In the underground soil, he is not blocked by the field. Although he can't see the field portal woven by Tian, he also knows that the defensive field has been broken. This man is an incarnation monk. He was robbed by others under his eyes. He became angry in his heart. He immediately opened his mind and looked around. In the end, he got nothing. At this time, the sound of bells suddenly rang out continuously in the city of heaven, which spread all over the city from afar. Dozens of escape lights soared in the air and shot at the entrance of this space. There are many monks flying over Tianchang, spreading around, looking for the ghost who robbed the prison. In the cell at this time, the 4 monks guarding in the main hall were already here, and their faces were all black and blue. After a few words of conversation, they left here one after another and disappeared in the prison. In the direction of Tianchang leading to the entrance of space, Tian steals and flies fast. Although the speed is fast, he can't let go of full speed. When he flies with his sword, he is much inferior. He could not help frowning when he saw the light flying by his side towards the entrance of the space. Obviously, the first reaction of the other side was that the other side blocked the exit, and then Wang Zhong caught me. At this time, Tian is more calm. No matter how he accelerates, he will not be able to leave the entrance of space at the first time. Simply, he deflected an angle, avoided those friars flying from the front, and made a detour to the entrance of space. In the space of Xuanjia, we can only sit and wait for death, and the only way is to find a way at the exit. At this time, there were more and more Xian family children in the sky, searching around. Tian glances at the 2 friars in the golden elixir realm who followed him before. At this time, he had a slight feeling that these children of the Xian family who were flying in the sky might not be all those who really searched for the prison robbers, but some of them had to act under pressure. The 2 friars, who were fat and thin, were obviously flying all the way, but they were laughing and didn't know what they were talking about. Because it was too far away, there was a lot of voices in the sky, the bell was melodious, and Tian didn't listen carefully for a moment. The space of the Xuanjia family, which is 3,000 li in radius, is only a small area for the friars. Tian's children, who have been avoiding people all the way, have not seen the tall gate at the entrance for a long time. At a glance, Tian saw that hundreds of Xuanjia's children had gathered there, and the city gate was almost invisible. There are also many friars standing on the ground or floating in the air, looking around. Farther away is the irregular blue and gray space barrier. I don't know how thick it is. It's impossible to escape from here. When Tian entered the space, he had already observed it with the source eye. There was no end in chaos. As for the space channel leading to the spirit realm of Luo Tian, Yi Tian thought about it and gave up the idea. By the means of Xuanjia, it is certain that any entrance leaving the space will be guarded by heavy troops, and it is impossible to miss anything. Yi Tian decided to watch the change for a while, so he found a slightly remote place, fell to the ground and began to meditate. From here, we can see the situation at the gate with naked eyes, but few people come here. Bit by bit, about half a day later, the number of friars flying back and forth in the sky gradually decreased, and finally returned to the state when he just entered this space. At a certain moment, the gate of the space city opened, hundreds of monks rushed out, and then closed again. And the monks in front of the gate also gradually dispersed, and finally only 6 or 7 people were still there, but before long, all these people entered the attic. In this case, it seems that he has given up the guard of the city gate. Yi Tian knows that things are far from so simple. Maybe after some searching, the Xians get nothing and change their strategy. From the closed door to wait for the rabbit, in the space under the net. However, Yi Tian is reminded of the scene when he left the prison. Seeing the prisoner robbed, the guard monk called out there is an internal ghost to him. Obviously, the Xians thought that it must be the Xians themselves. After all, no outsider can enter the world without warning. In the eyes of the Xian family, this is simply impossible. The real judgment is that the Xian family's own people did it, so this kind of strict prevention and control must have no effect. The Xian family's people just have to stay in their own residence for 10 or 8 years, and the Xian family can't afford to toss for such a long time. So the only possibility is to let go of the gate and let those who want to go out show themselves. So the Xian family didn't do much to search. Even if we check all the members of the Xian family, we may not be able to find out who did it. Thinking about this, Yi Tian feels that what he thinks is getting closer to the truth. However, although Yi Tian is very confident, he did not act rashly. After hiding in this remote corner for 3 days, Yi Tiankai finally moved. At a certain moment, Yi Tian quietly flew to the gate of the city, quietly waiting. 3 days ago, the gate was opened twice, and 2 groups of Xian's children came out of the gate. Although Yi Tian knows that there must be an ambush of the Xian family outside, he can't wait any longer. As long as he is in the space of the Xian family, he will be in danger at any time. If he leaves here, he has to face the danger only once. Half a day later, Yi Tian, who was waiting at the gate of the city, suddenly got a boost. In the distance, 4 friars came quickly and fell beside the Zhijing pavilion. From inside came out the straightforward young friar, looked at each other, said with a smile, "Uncle Clan, going out to carry out the family mission again?" The friar, known as the uncle of the clan, is a middle-aged friar who looks a little old. He changes the spirit realm. Hearing the words, he nodded slightly. Yes, the people of the Cloud family are surrounded by the Fuyun mountain. I'll rush to support them. Xuanhao, we should guard the space portal and don't let people run out without permission. With these words, the man flicked a token at the young friar. The young friar took a look in his hand, handed it back and said, "The token has been checked. Let it go. It won't delay the great event of the clan uncle." With that, the young monk came to the gate first. 3 magic powers were already on the transparent shield. Then the forbidden field opened and the gate opened slowly. At the moment when the gate was opened, Yi Tian floated out first, and went straight out like lightning. When he got to the gate of the city, he quietly threw himself into the crack of the void. He is to rush out of the small space outside the city in the void crack in front of these people. Similar to the kind of dialogue he heard before, he has heard it twice in the past 3 days. One time, he found the trace of the Cloud family and the group went out to round up. Another time, the Cloud family was surrounded and went to support. This time again. Yi Tian concludes that this is definitely the other party acting, because he mistakenly regards the prison robber as the Xian family, so he infers that he may be invisible and get out of this space. It's too obvious. Yi Tian would never let them block the void cracks after the city gate was closed. In such a narrow space, he would never escape again. Yi Tian's reaction is really very fast, action is also fast. After a few breaths, Yi Tian has rushed out of the void cracks. When the blue-gray clouds suddenly began to fluctuate in the void crack, the 5 monks of the Xian family who had been waiting near the void crack found this strange image. Suddenly, with a flick of their fingers, a piece of white powder floated down, covering a large area. Tian only feels a flash of his body shape, and has already shown his body shape from the stealth state. Fortunately, he has been ready for a long time. He escapes from Tiansuo's hand and zooms in quickly. Then his body shape flashes, and he has entered it, and the shield suddenly opens. Boom! Boom! Two fierce attacks hit on the shield that Dun Tiansuo had just appeared. Under the force, Dun Tiansuo swung to the side and then shot away. At this time, the four monks also rushed out of the void and showed their bodies in the void. Chase. One of them, with a gloomy face and a loud drink, has already chased Tian. The others dare not fall behind. Their speed is almost the same as that of the previous one. They are chasing out like meteors. It turns out that all of them are spiritual cultivation. That's close. Tian took a long breath and pressed his palm on Dun Tiansuo's mysterious rune to activate his mana to accelerate him. While accelerating, Tian also adjusted the flight direction of Dun Tiansuo to avoid the sudden turbulence meteorite and avoid those void cracks. However, even though he constantly urged his mana and the speed of Dun Tiansuo increased, Dun Tiansuo, who was only a half step into the divine realm, was still slower than the later monks. However, in 3 or 5 minutes, the other side had caught up with the distance of 6 or 7 zhang. I will be overtaken by the other party in a few minutes. Although Dun Tiansuo's defense ability is strong, it's not a big problem for him to suffer a few times from the monks of the changed spirit realm. The power lost by the shield can be supplemented by the best fairy jade. However, if the attack is too intensive, I'm afraid the speed of the supplement can't match the speed of the damage, and the shield will soon be broken. At that time, how can I deal with the 9 monks of the changed spirit realm? Tian quickly takes out a small moving talisman. A magic power hits Dun Tiansuo, and the shield closes abruptly. At this time, his small moving talisman has been activated. Tian hits Dun Tiansuo with another magic power. He moves into the Gate of Light, and then puts away Dun Tiansuo. This series of actions is like flowing water, as if practicing thousands of times, without wasting any time. As soon as Dun Tiansuo put it away, people were sent out. At this time, many of the monks in the spirit realm had already reached the place where Tian disappeared, and the light door began to dissipate slowly. Chase separately. One of them, a monk of the Xuanjia family, yelled, and the 9 of them took a direction and ran away separately. They all know how far they can transmit this small moving sign. As long as they let go of their mind, they should be able to sense Tian's transmission position. At this time, somewhere in the sky, a ripple flashed. Tian suddenly appeared. Just as his figure just appeared, the small moving symbol in his hand was activated again. With the appearance of the ripple, he disappeared in the Gate of Light again. See how many small moving runes you can have. Thousands of miles away, a monk of Xuanjia's incarnation realm sensed this scene through his mind. With a cold hum, he flew away in the direction of Tian's disappearance. At the same time, the hands of the 8 heralds said a few words softly, inspired out. Over a mountain, Tian shows his figure again, then the ripples flash again, and a door closes again. Then Tian transmits again. Up to now, he found that he couldn't enter the invisible state after carrying those white powder. This is the first time that this situation has appeared. From this state, Tian feels a breath of extreme danger. Therefore, we don't hesitate to waste small moving symbols and transmit them continuously. We only hope that we can have better luck and transmit ourselves further. Outside the void cracks of Xuanjia, there are space turbulence and void cracks with the force of terror. Otherwise, Tian would have been sent away for the first time without having to go through the short and dangerous escape process. However, now finally escaped from the Xuanjia space. Next, let's see how we can get rid of the influence of this powder. After arousing a small moving sign again, Tian looks at the environment around him, then flashes and flies down to the ground quickly. At the same time, fingers gently twist the white powder on the body and smell it under the nose. The wings of the nose twitch a few times, and Tian's eyebrows suddenly unfold. He already knows what the medicine powder is made of. Is it a spotlight? In fact, this kind of spiritual wood is very common in the medicine garden cultivated by monks. There is nothing special about this kind of grass. It's just because the grass leaves can absorb light very well. It's planted in the medicine garden to improve the growth environment of spiritual wood and speed up the growth of other spiritual wood. The principle of stealth is to change the path of light, with the meaning of astigmatism, so that people cannot realize the straight-line propagation of light under the naked eye. I didn't expect that the monks in Lanzhou Lingyu were so clever that they used the effect of spotlight grass to condense the light again to break the art of invisibility. This also surprised Yi Tian. However, now that you know the ingredients of this white powder, it's much easier to crack down on the effect of this powder. As Yi Tian landed on the ground, he quickly took off his clothes and trousers and flew in a calf-nose trousers. Then he made a gesture and yelled, "Rain is coming." The water attribute Taoist art sent out, and suddenly a torrential rain fell on his head, washing the residual powder on his hair, face and neck. After more than 10 breaths, Yi Tian's figure on the ground suddenly disappeared from the original place. As his body was washed clean by the heavy rain, Yi Tian regained his ability to kill. After several miles of flying, Yi Tiankai hid himself under a big tree with thick branches and leaves. He took out his clothes from Zumaji and put them on again. Then, once again, it disappeared from where it was. More than 10 minutes later, a figure flies away and falls on the place where Yi Tian disappears. He is a monk who pursues Yi Tian. Standing under the tree, the man released his mind and looked around. After about 100 breaths, the man suddenly gave a drink and clapped his hand on the big tree beside him. Under the terrible impact of the magic power, the big tree turned into countless pieces and floated. In the sky above a vast mountain range, the sky is as blue as blue. Occasionally, there are floating clouds, and birds leisurely walk through the white clouds, forming a good elegant scenery. All of a sudden, this delicate landscape was suddenly destroyed by a few faint ripples in the sky. With the ripples, there was a faint gate. After a few breaths, the light gate disappears and the ripples disappear, as if the light gate and the ripples have never appeared before. The sky is still the original sky, the flowing clouds are still flowing clouds, and the birds still shuttle through the clouds, flying freely and singing happily. Everything's back to the way it was. However, no one knows that under the sky, there is an invisible man. Yi Tian, who was inspired by a small moving sign, kept invisible during the transmission, keeping his breath tightly. The gate of light and ripples appear, and then disappear again. Even if someone sees such a vision with their own eyes, it's impossible to know whether someone has transmitted it. In the air quietly suspended for a few breaths, Yi Tian observed the situation nearby, quietly and quickly floated to the distance. So far, he is sure that he has temporarily got rid of the pursuit of the Xian family. But this is just the beginning. It is estimated that in the future, more and more people will join in the search of themselves in Xuanxie, Xianfeng, and others. The danger is not in the past, and will suddenly come in the form of storms somewhere in the future. Therefore, the more up to now, Yi Tian is more careful. 2 days later, Yi Tian took a long breath in the stealth flight. In front of him was a red forest, red trunk, red branches, and leaves. It was the blood forest known as a Jedi. It's a long way away from the location where he sent the last time. The farther away from there, the more difficult it is for the Xian family to track. Therefore, Yi Tian chose to go a long way away from that location, but the direction he left was the blood forest. Xiao Wang was once invisible here, but he was never found out. If he didn't have his own eye, I'm afraid he didn't know how long he would stay here. Standing in the sky above the blood forest, Yi Tian still scanned the blood forest carefully as usual, looking at the red runes, and then looked under the ground, the stone chamber and the grottos connected by the stone ladder. All this did not find anything different, and before he left without the slightest change. After this observation, Yi Tiankai put down his heart and left 8 heartworms on top of the blood forest. Then he carefully landed in the blood forest to avoid the terrible red rune pattern, and made a dive to the ground. It didn't take long for Yi Tian to escape to the location of the stone chamber, but he didn't enter the stone chamber. Instead, he avoided the huge stones connected with the stone chamber and continued to escape. When he got to the location of the cave below, Yi Tian still didn't dig a hole to enter the cave, so he continued to run down. So invisible, until tens of thousands of meters underground, Yi Kai stopped. After a look at the picture of the heartworm in his mind, Tian makes a gesture, and a black square seal the size of a fist appears in his hand. With a magic power hitting on the square seal, Tian escapes far away. However, the square seal of fist size was rapidly enlarged, and the powerful squeezing force forced the surrounding soil to flow back. It did not stop enlarging until the square seal was enlarged 6 or 7 feet square. Then, a magic force hit the big seal from outside the soil, and the seal began to shrink slowly. It did not disappear until the fist size was retracted again. But Tian's body shape is the space created by this square seal. Naturally, the square seal was taken back by him. Immediately, he thought a move and took the lead in releasing the mysterious crack from the spirit beast ring. Are you the old man? The dark crack suddenly placed itself in the underground space, which was completely made of soil. Seeing the young man in front of him, he asked in surprise. Although his body was forbidden and his accomplishments and thoughts could not be brought into full play, his eyesight of cultivation for many years was still there. Although the earth cave was dark, he could see everything clearly in front of him. Tian nodded slightly. Yes, I broke into Xian's house and rescued you. Staring at Tian for a few eyes, Xian nodded slightly. Since you have come back to the realm of simplicity, even your bones have been cultivated like young people. I really admire you. Haha, Dao Yu flattered me. I think you should invite Ling Gongzi and others out now, or you will be very depressed in the cave. Tian is not willing to entangle too much in age and realm, and changes the topic. The cave? Is the cave mentioned by Taoist friends the house of spirit and beast? There was a look of helplessness in his eyes. Haha, anyway, that's what I call the cave. Tian said with a smile again. Xuanxia nodded slightly and asked, where is this? Is it still in Xuanjia space? Tian shook his head and said, of course not. It should be safe here for the time being. That's why he invited Dao Yu out to see what to do next. That's good. Let's invite the rest out. The taste in your cave is not so pleasant. Hearing what Tian said, Xuanxia said with a relaxed look. Tian didn't say much more. He moved continuously and released Xinfeng and the other 6 monks from the spirit beast ring. Why don't you come to my fairy house? Then Tian took out a cave which used to be equipped with 7-color spirit soil and put it in this space. What is the realm of Dao Yu? Seeing this towering cave, he asked in his eyes. Dao Yu, but you can only rely on the induction. I think what you want to know more is the news of Yunqing? Tian evades the real and says falsely. Well, let's have a talk in the cave. Xin Crack listened to Tian say so, but also didn't ask. Tian made a pleased gesture, and then took the lead into the cave. After sitting down in the putuan in the hall of the cave, Xinfeng and others also sit down in turn. Tian moves his hand. An antique tea case appears in the hall, and then he takes out a beautiful jade pot. With a move of the finger, a fire attribute mana was sent out, a fire appeared out of thin air, suspended in the middle of the hall, and the jade teapot floated slowly towards the fire. All this is dazzling. Then Tian moved his hand again and took out 9 teacups. With a flick of his finger, some elegant and fragrant lingcha appeared in each teacup. In a moment, the lingquan in the jade pot had been boiling. But Tian didn't know how to move. The jade pot floated by itself. With a very elegant mouth, it poured half a cup of steaming spring water into the teacup in front of the dark crack. Then it continued to pour water into other people's teacups. Finally, after Tian was injected, the jade pot disappeared out of thin air. Tian stretched out his hand to give way. You Taoist friends, this is something that was seized from a monk in the spirit realm. I don't know the name of this tea, but it looks good. Please taste it first. At this time, including the dark crack, these people did not move, but everyone smelled the tea, looked at the table and the jade pot, and the shock in their eyes was very obvious. Are you afraid of something in this tea? Tian is a little smile, take the lead in pinching the cup, gently sipped a mouthful, only praise, really good tea. Dao Yu is really a good method. Both Taoism and mana control have reached such a perfect level. The color of surprise in Xian Crack's eyes is astringent. He also pinches the teacup in front of him and drinks a mouthful of tea. This tea is called Long Mexiang, which is a special product of Xuanjia space. There is absolutely no place to see this tea outside. And this table and jade pot should belong to Xianwei. According to Dao Yu, Xianwei should have fallen into Dao Yu's hands? Yi Tian said with a cool smile, I don't know how many monks of Washinjing have fallen into my hands, even thousands of foreign people have been cultivated in Washinjing. I'm not sure if it's the Xianwei thing that Dao Yu said. But since Dao Yu recognized it, it should be right. What he said about the alien nature is the practice of the dead in the field of the great wilderness, and the killing of many things that changed the divine realm refers to what happened when he was a great monk in Yupu realm in his previous life. Although this is a bit vague, it's not a free talk. The Taoist friends are really extraordinary. No wonder they can enter the Xian family to rescue us and come out safely. In the history of the Xian family for countless years, Dao Yu was the first one to achieve this. Shen crack vision tiny lang ground looking at leaf sky, suddenly exclaim away. Dao Yu flatters me. Since you have seen Xuanwei's things and the keepsake of Yunqing and Du Mingyue, Dao Yu should have no doubt about my identity, right? Although I'm out of danger for the time being, time is still pressing. If you have anything you want to know, just ask. As far as I know, I will tell you the truth. Then I have some questions to ask you. How are you? Yi Tian put down his teacup and said with a straight look. It should be so, then Xian asked first. Xian Crack also put down the cup and continued, where is Yun Chang now? Have you ever been hurt? Yi Tian Dao said, I have been separated from my Taoist friend Yunqing for nearly 10 days. It is not clear what the situation is now. 10 days ago, Yunqing Daoyu was with Yunzhong, Huang Yanqiu and others, along with them were Du Mingyue and her daughter Xian, as well as 5 members of the Yun family. Xian? The elders said, Xian is Du Mingyue's daughter? Before Xuanxie could continue to ask questions, Xianfeng suddenly stood up and asked with his eyes wide open. It was obvious that he was a little excited when he heard the news. Yi Tian naturally knew the reason why Xianfeng was excited, so he waved to Xianfeng with a smile, friends of Xianfeng, please sit down. Xian's full name is Zuanxian. She is 29 years old and is the daughter of Du Mingyue and friends of Xianfeng. Really, is Xian really my daughter? Xianfeng asks quickly, and then sees that Yi Tian nods his head. Xianfeng seems to have lost his last bit of strength and slowly sits back on the futon, saying, originally, I heard that Mingyue had a disciple named Xian, but I didn't expect that she was my own daughter. Mingyue, after so many years of hard work, I'm sorry for your suffering. At last, Xianfeng turned into a murmur, and 2 lines of tears rolled down from his cheeks. Xian and Du Mingyue are very good, and I have accepted Xian as my disciple. If I don't have this relationship, I'm afraid I won't go deep into Xuanjia space to rescue you. Yi Tian continued. Thank you, master. Xianfeng hears the words and gets up again and bows to Yi Tian deeply. You don't need to be polite, and you don't need to be commensurate with your predecessors. Xian is your daughter and my disciple. We should be friends of the same generation. Yi Tian stretched out his hand to hold up the Xianfeng, which was made by the whole body cultivation, very easily. Well, I haven't asked for your name yet? Xianfeng nodded and asked after sitting down again. Yi Tian. Yi Tian replied truthfully. At this time, Xian Crack suddenly asked, Yi Daoyu, what about Jia Yu and others? Have you ever been hurt? Yi Tian shook his head and said, more than 10 days ago, Yunzhong and Huang Yanqiu were besieged by Xianwei and other 7 people. I happened to pass by and rescue them. I was injured at that time, but after diagnosis and treatment, they have recovered as before, and their accomplishments have been restored. I think that under their deliberate concealment, mysterious people should not find them for the time being. But, Xuandeo, can you find a way to break the ban on you? Speaking of this topic, Xuanxia's face was suddenly dejected. The prohibition on us is that an old ancestor of Yupujing in the Xian family personally closed the 8 channels of the Strange Sutra, and banned Yuanying. At this time, we are no doubt useless people. With our own strength, we can't break the prohibition at all. Unless another great monk of Yupujing takes the hand, we may be able to break the prohibition. By the way, only Xuanfeng's prohibition is a little simpler, which can be solved by transforming the spiritual realm into cultivation. Yi Tian Wenyan nodded and said to Xian Crack, since this is the case, let me have a look. May I find a solution? I'll trouble ye Dao Yu. When Yen Xian crack hearted joy, to now he also didn't understand, Yi Tian exactly is what cultivation realm. But according to various clues, he infers that Yi Tian may be a great monk in Yupu. After all, Yi Tian has such a top-level magic cave in the Lansang spiritual realm, and he can escape from the Xuanjia space safely, get rid of the pursuit and killing that the Xuanjia will inevitably arrange, and will not move greatly. Moreover, in the underground prison of the Finggu Temple, Yi Tian could rescue all 8 of them under the eyelids of a monk in the spirit-transforming realm. Without the cultivation of Yupu realm, it would be very difficult. Dao Yu, you don't have to worry about it. Please check it. Seeing that he has promised Yi Tian still sits there without any action. Xuanxia thinks that Yi Tian is out of the taboo between friars, so he doesn't rush to check. But unexpectedly, Yi Tian stood up with a smile and said, "Don't check. This prohibition is no big deal. The old ancestor who started with you is kind. The prohibition is not a death ban, but a living ban, and Yi has a way to solve it." The so-called death ban is that kind of very vicious prohibition. Even after the prohibition is broken, the monks who have been banned will suffer damage to their body and accomplishments, which is equivalent to losing half their lives. In more serious cases, their lives may coexist with the prohibition. The prohibition is in, the people are in, the prohibition is broken, the people die. It's extremely vicious. However, living prohibition is not the case. This kind of prohibition is just to limit the monk's cultivation. It is a short-term restriction and does no harm to the band. As long as the prohibition is lifted, the band can be restored in a short time. Just in their short conversation time, Yi Tian has seen clearly through the prohibition in Yuan Tian's eyes, and finally found the way to solve it. Thank you, Yi Dao Yu. Xuanxia was overjoyed when he heard that the rest of the Xuanjia friars were also overjoyed. For a friar who could turn over rivers and seas, if he lost his strength and accomplishments, he would be dead once. How could he be unhappy when he heard that Yi Tian could break their prohibition? At present, Yi Tian is the only one who can be trusted by them. Although Yun Zhong can be trusted, he only has the power to transform the divine realm. With his power, he can't break the ban in his body. It's very difficult to find another great monk in Yupu to lift the ban. Who will risk being exterminated and offend the mystery? Although the internal affairs of the Xian family have not been widely publicized, in front of those great monks with great powers, the opposition between the Xian Crack and the Xian Ji is no longer a secret. In this case, to find any great friar in Yupu to do this is tantamount to falling into the trap. It's all right, give me a hand. Yi Tian nodded faintly, stood up, stepped back and sat down again. Then with a gesture, he took out a red stove. The Xian family, including Xian Crack, looked at Yi Tian's behavior and couldn't help looking at each other. No matter what's forbidden. Instead, he took out the red stove. Xuandeu, please wait a moment. You'd better use elixir to dissolve your prohibition. This elixir is called Breaking Prohibition Elixir, which is specially created for breaking prohibition. Yi Tian sees the expression of Xian Crack and others, and takes out the jade box while explaining. Breaking the ban pill? Xuanxia stood up doubtfully, came to Yi Tian's side, and asked doubtfully, Xuanmo is also familiar with Dan Dao. He knows a lot about Dan Yao, but he has never heard of this Dan, and he has never heard that Dan Yao can break the ban. Is it not enough to break the ban in our bodies? Asked about the point, Yi Tian was really embarrassed to hide it, so he nodded. Xuandeu was right. If you can lift the ban with your own strength, why waste precious spiritual materials and spend time and effort refining pills? If you have a trusted great monk in Yupujing, tell me the location, and I can take you to him. Xuanxia looked at Yi Tianyi and then laughed. Yi Daoyu has been hiding so much from me. I always thought that Daoyu might be a great friar in Yupu. Before Daoyu entered Yupu realm, he went to Xuanjia space to rescue us at the risk of dying. Moreover, Xuanmo also gave Daoyu a difficult problem, asking you to rescue 8 of us together. Now that you think about it, it's really hard to be Daoyu. You almost put Daoyu in a desperate situation. Xuanmo must remember this kindness for life. With these words, Xuanxie bows to Yi Tian solemnly, and the rest of the Xuanzhe's children come and worship with him. Yi Daoyu, if Xuanmo and others can escape this disaster, we will go through fire and water and die for anything in the future. Then, Xuanxie made a solemn promise. Dao, you don't have to be so polite. As I said before, Xian is Ye's disciple, and neither of them is an outsider. Yi Tian got up and helped them up. Well, if you're polite, I won't say much. Let's see the actual actions of Xian in the future. Just now, Dao Yuyi asked if there were any great friars in Yupujing who could be trusted. It's a shame to say that there are not a few great friars in Yupujing whom I know, but even my ancestors can't believe them. How can others believe them? I'd like to trouble you to make pills and break the ban. I'll bear all the costs. It's a pity that all of our Shumi precepts were taken away, and now they're on him. He said here, and Xuanxie looked embarrassed. Then he looked at Xianfeng. It's just the dog's prohibition. He doesn't need Yupu's cultivation to resolve it, so he doesn't have to waste his precious elixir? Now it's Yi Tian's turn to be embarrassed. He takes a look at Xianfeng and spreads his hand to Xuanxie. He is totally helpless. Once again, a look of surprise flashed in his eyes. Don't tell me, Yi Daoyu, you haven't entered the realm of God, have you? Xianfeng and the other 6 members of the Xuanzhe family also look at Yi Tian. They are not surprised, but shocked. Yi Tian nodded silently and admitted frankly, yes, Yi did not enter the realm of God. Yi Daoyu, your kindness is too great. If you enter the Xuanzhe space with Yuanyingjing cultivation, it's not a near death, but a 10 death without life. This is equivalent to giving up your life and family to rescue us. How can we repay this kindness? The dark cracks eyes again. Xuandayu is so polite again, but he doesn't know what to do. The most urgent thing is to refine the elixir as soon as possible, lift the prohibitions of several people, and restore their accomplishments. Otherwise, in danger, I'm afraid Yi will be powerless. Yi Tian didn't mean to say that he didn't even reach Yuanying, but he frowned and said. Yi Daoyu has a point. Please alchemy first. Xuanxie knows that Yi Tian is telling the truth, other things are not important, but the most urgent thing is to restore cultivation. At present, Yi Tian doesn't talk about it anymore. He takes out many jade boxes from Shumi commandment and selects the spiritual materials needed for alchemy. More than 20 of them were selected from hundreds of jade boxes, but they were still not enough to produce the required breaking ban pills. Then Yi Tian took out a cave medicine garden, entered it, and finally came out with 6 linkai. In the whole process, Xuanxie and others are watching with Yi Tian's action, and the surprise in their eyes is extremely obvious. You know, in the Lansang spiritual realm, spiritual materials are extremely precious cultivation resources. It is a great wealth for ordinary monks to have 10 or 8 spiritual materials. Yi Tiani has hundreds of jade boxes, which contain all kinds of spiritual materials, some of which are extremely precious. This is not to mention. Generally speaking, only the great friars in Yupu can have 1 magic cave. Yi Tian has 2. What's more, Yi Tian is only used to plant spiritual materials. This is really an incredible question. This scene, let Shen Crack can't help but gather eyes to meditate, search in the mind which Yi family will appear such a character. Yi Tianxi didn't care about it. It seemed that she was used to it and chose Wan Linkai. After Yi Tiani has done everything, he moves his hand gently, and the water attribute Taoist art is sent out. A shower of rain and water will clean up the spirit material. Then he called out the fire of his own life, which was suspended in the cave. Suddenly, the jumping fire started to burn, and the heaven and earth furnace from Wei Wuyan rose out of the air and flew above the fire. When the furnace gets hot and the temperature reaches a certain level, Yi Tian with a gesture, a spirit tree was summoned into the cauldron by him, and then the second one. The third one. Yi Tian's movements are as smooth as flowing water without any stagnation, as if they had been done thousands of times without any process of thinking. Xuanxie and other people look at Yi Tian's process of refining pills. They can't help looking at each other, and their eyes are full of shock. In particular, the shock in Xuanxie's heart is beyond comparison. In Xuanzhe's family, Xuanxie's Dan Dao attainments are enough to rank in the top 3. He is also a great Dan master who has been immersed in Dan Dao for a long time. His Dan Dao attainments are naturally extraordinary. What I said to Yi Tian before is that I am modest in my knowledge of Dan Dao, but I am confident in my attainments of Dan Dao. If it wasn't for the strange and unrefined spirit material that Yi Tian said, he would like to refine this furnace of broken forbidden pill himself. However, seeing that Yi Tian didn't seem to have this idea, he didn't say much. He thought that Yi Tianruo's lack of Dan Dao was the reason for his failure in refining Dan Yao. He tried his best to turn the tide and save this batch of Dan Yao. At that time, I will not only see what kind of spiritual material to use, but also be familiar with the refining process, so I will be sure. But when he saw Yi Tian's refining technique, he suddenly felt a sense of shame in his heart. Although it was just a simple action of putting medicine into the furnace, he asked himself that Yi Tian's attainments had far exceeded his own. There are so many spirit materials, Yi Tian did not put them one by one in a regular way, but put them on the jade box at will, and the order of placement is also very random. But it is in the refining time, Yi Tian casually put a move into the furnace, neither choose the wrong spirit material, also did not understand the spirit material. I'm afraid that no one in the whole Xuanjia family, including Laozu, can be more familiar with this kind of mana control and medicine. Even Xian Crack never thought that the process of drug administration could reach such a state. In Xuanxia's eyes, Yi Tian's alchemy is like this, not to mention other people of Xuanjia. These people have some understanding of Dan Dao, and there is no such skillful method of medicine delivery in their subconscious. At the time of the public's astonishment and attention, Yi Tian began to slow down his medication. Sometimes he closed his eyes and stopped looking after the red stove. Then he suddenly put in a spirit tree at a certain moment. Sometimes, several kinds of spirit materials are suspended above the Dan furnace at the same time, and then fly into the Dan furnace in turn. If you're not sure that Yi Tian will never make fun of so many precious spirit materials, Xuanxia will think Yi Tian is playing juggling. At the beginning, Xuanxia was just amazed at Yi Tian's Dan Dao attainments. At a certain moment later, he suddenly moved in his heart and began to feel Yi Tian's refining techniques in silence. Before long, he was immersed in Yi Tian's Dan Dao technique. From time to time, he stretched out his hand to imitate it. He even forgot that Yi Tian was refining a forbidden breaking pill for himself and his family. The more he imitates, the more he indulges. If he realizes something at a certain moment, he will close his eyes and feel it in silence. When he opens his eyes again, his eyes will be full of surprise. So many times, I don't know how long it took. When he opened his eyes again, he heard Yi Tian's voice, "Well, Xuandeo, the pill for breaking the ban has been refined. Please take it immediately, break the ban, and resume your cultivation." 8. Yi Dao, you made 8 forbidden breaking pills at one time? And they're all 8 kinds of pills? See Yi Tian palm dragging 8 color pure white, and above has 8 Dan pattern of Dan medicine, Xian Crack startle exhaled. We should know that the higher the attainments of Dan Dao, the more Dan medicine can be produced in one furnace. The most accomplished alchemist in Lansong could only produce 5 pills in one pot. And such a multi-Dan situation, the highest level of Dan medicine will never exceed 5 grades. The situation of a batch of 8 pills has never been seen, let alone heard. Looking at the 8 pills in Yi Tian's hand, Xuanxia gently picked up one and looked at it carefully. That's right. The faint fragrance of the pill enters the nose. 8 clear patterns are evenly arranged on the pills. The monomer is round and crystal clear, like a beautiful jade. It's not only a genuine 8-grade pill. Even in the 8-grade pills he had seen in the past, they could be regarded as the best of the 8 grades. Xian Crack didn't even have the heart to take such a perfect pill. After watching for a moment, Xian Crack finally fell into his heart and put the 8-grade forbidden breaking pill in his mouth. Breaking the ban, the entrance of the elixir melts and turns into a violent energy into the dark and cracked elixir field. This energy is extremely huge, the dark split instant feel the whole dantian as if to be broken in general, the face showed a trace of pain expression. The mysterious Crackway friend mobilizes the mana, the impact body forbids. At this time, Yi Tian suddenly had a big drink. After hearing the words, Xuanxia wakes up and understands the principle that breaking the ban can break the ban. He quickly mobilizes that energy and carefully attacks the ban on the upper and lower dantian. The ban on the dantian closed Xuanxia's own mana, making him unable to mobilize the mana in the Dantian as if he had become a useless person. However, the ban-breaking pill provided him with this majestic power to mobilize it freely. Although this force can't be released to attack, there is great hope to mobilize it to attack the prohibition in the body. It turned out that Xuanxie thought that after taking the pill, the ban would be lifted by himself. Now, how could such a big man have such a naive idea? However, even so, Yi Tian's breaking ban pill is definitely a pill against heaven, which has never been seen or heard before. As soon as this thought flashed by, the dark crack absorbed his mind and concentrated on attacking the prohibition in his body. He knew the prohibition in his own body best, and it was much safer to attack by himself than to break it by outsiders. Little by little, at a certain moment, there was a sudden click in the Dantian, which was banned for many days, and finally cracked under the impact of the huge energy of the dark crack. With a bang, the momentum of the dark crack burst out, and the mana in the Dantian has been lifted. Next, it was much easier. The dark crack began to mobilize its own mana and the huge energy to attack the 8 veins of the classic. In a moment, the prohibitions were like ice and fire. Without half resistance, the ice disappeared and the snow melted. Feeling the lost and recovered mana, Xuanxie excitedly holds Yi Tian's hand. Yi Dao Yu, thank you. Dao Yu is really a god and man. At this point, Xuanxian's face showed a strange expression. He looked at Yi Tian for a few breaths, and then said, Dao Yu only have the cultivation of Longmen realm? Shane Yi Tian nodded, such a low level, it's disappointing for Dao Yu. Longmen realm. How could you be the cultivation of Longmen realm? How did you enter the space of Xuanjia, how did you get out of the space, and how did you escape the pursuit of Xuanji? The dark crack in the eye peeped out matchless startle of color. If you are interested to know, I will talk about it later. However, there are still others who have not lifted the ban, so it's important to restore cultivation. Yi Tian felt the strong breath of the peak of the mysterious realm. He nodded and looked at the rest of the Xian family. With a gesture, the 7 forbidden breaking pills in the palm turned into a white light and shot at the 7 people respectively. You also begin to lift the ban. Xuanxie nods slightly. When Yi Tian throws out the forbidden pill, he stretches his hand flat, but he doesn't see how to do it. The wall-breaking pill that flies to Xianfeng suddenly flashes with white shadow. It turns back on the way and falls into his hands, and then returns it to Yi Tian. I can crack the forbidden pill of Fenger. Taoist Yi should put it away for future use. Yi Tian calmly smiles and puts it away, but he doesn't insist on it anymore. Later, Xuanxie looked at the other 6 monks of the Xuanjia family and explained in detail the key points of how to use the pill to break the ban. Until everyone nodded, Xuanxie stopped. The 6 men were eager to break the ban. After hearing Xuanxie finish, they successively swallowed the pill. Then they sat on their knees, mobilized the power of the pill, and began to attack the ban in the body. He explained in detail that the 6 monks of the Xuanjia family knew how to break the prohibition, so the process of breaking the prohibition was very smooth. Soon after, the first Xuanjia monk who broke the prohibition and resumed his cultivation appeared. When his momentum burst out, Yi Tian's eyes were fixed. The late monk of Washinjing. Then, the second monk also restored his cultivation, and burst out a strong breath. He is also a monk in the later period of the spirit state. Next, the other 4 also broke the prohibition and restored their accomplishments. 2 of the 4 were monks in the middle stage of the transformation, while the other 2 were in the early stage of the transformation. Seeing that all 6 of them have successfully lifted the ban, Xuanxie's face looks happy, but he doesn't say much. He comes to Xianfeng, who is sitting with his knees crossed. His palm is close to his dantian, and the magic power slowly penetrates into him. Xuanxie's lips are closed, as if he is suffering from some pain. The gesture of Xian Crack began to move slowly on Xianfeng's dantian, and Xianfeng's expression gradually returned to normal. And Xian Crack is dignified, a careful look. After a cup of tea, Xuanfeng's body was shocked, and his mana fluctuated, but he was far less powerful than the others, only in the middle of Jindan realm. Yi Tian feels the breath of Xianfeng, and he can't help feeling sorry. Du Mingyue mentioned that 30 years ago, Xianfeng, as the pride of the Xuanjia generation, had entered the Golden Elixir realm. After more than 30 years, he only improved a small realm. It can be seen that he is so lack of cultivation, and how he worries about Du Mingyue in prison, so that his mood is affected. Just take a shake. Yi Tian knew that the prohibition on Xianfeng Dan Tian had been cracked by Xuanxie, and then there were only 8 channels left. As long as the mana is restored, the 8 channels are not a problem. After a while, Xuanxie finally takes back his palm and pats Xianfeng on the shoulder. Fenger, have you suffered a lot for so many years? However, from today on, my father will take back what you have suffered at all costs with interest. Xianfeng felt his breath and nodded heavily. Well, father, in fact, now I think about it, the so-called overall situation and family are important. It's just a joke. The more forbearance you have, the more fish you have to eat. Hearing Xianfeng say so, Xuanxie's face coagulated, and then sighed. Maybe you are right, fortunately. Now there is still a chance to correct, everything can start all over again. Then he patted Xianfeng on the shoulder heavily, and then turned to Yi Tian. Yi Daoyu, let me introduce you. Xian Gang. Xian Zhao. Xian Meng. Fantasy. Xian Jun. Xian Jin. Xuanxie once pointed to the 6 Suanjiawa monks and introduced them to Yi Tian, who nodded in response. It turns out that the middle-aged scholar is Xian Jun, and the bearded friar is Xian Meng. Now Yi Tian is on the right number. The 6 monks of the Xian family were extremely excited. With Yi Tian's help, they not only regained their freedom, but also recovered their accomplishments. Naturally, they were overjoyed. Yi Daoyu, now it's time to talk about how to enter the Xuanxie space, how to leave and get away safely. Seeing that all of them had known each other, after the ceremony was over, Xuanxie could not help asking again. Yi Tian Dao, in fact, it's nothing. It's the location of the Xuanxie space obtained from the soul search of Xianwei. Yi can also perform the stealth technique similar to the Xuanxia's. He sneaks in while the door is open, finds the prison, and then sneaks out again. Because Yi Mao has a small move sign, after several moves, he found this relatively safe place and went underground. Xuanxie nodded while listening. When Yi Tian finished speaking, he said, although Yi Daoyu said it easily, I know the situation of the Xian family best. I can imagine the danger. I think it must be a near death before I can escape safely. Just now, I released my mind and found that it was under the blood forest. Taoist friends are really looking for a good place. Yi Tian said with a smile, it doesn't matter how the process is, but the most important thing is the result. The situation of the blood forest is very special. It should be safe for the time being, but after a long time, I don't know what the situation is. So, Xuandea had better make a plan early. Xuanxie nodded with the same feeling, and suddenly asked. Yi Daoyu said before that he had something to ask. Just ask. If there is anything that I need to help, don't be polite. It was at this time that Yi Tian and others said, then Yi is outspoken. I want to know about the space channel that Xuanjia takes out to Luotian Lingyu. The more detailed, the better. I wonder if it's convenient for you to tell me. Hearing Yi Tian's inquiry about the space passage, Xuanxie looks at Yi Tian quite unexpectedly. I can't imagine that Yi Daoyu is interested in this space passage. Do you want to go to Luotian's spiritual realm through this passage? That's exactly what I thought. Yi Tian admits frankly. This matter concerns the most senior secret of the Xian family, but since Yi Daoyu inquired, Xian would naturally tell him in detail. Fortunately, Yi Daoyu asked me. If you ask other people in the Xian family, I'm afraid you may not be able to get accurate information. Let's put it this way. In addition to a few Yupu ancestors of the Xian family, there are no more than 10 children of the Xian family who know the accurate information of the space passage. So secretive? Smell speech, Leaf De Lang, immediately Wei, that Xianwei also know some? Xianwei? Hearing the name, Xuanxie sneered, what is he? I'm also qualified to know the core secrets of the space channel. I'm the only one who knows the real secrets of the space channel. Xian Meng. You don't have to look at me. The news you know is false. It's the smoke bomb from the Xians. Say words. Xian Crack saw aside to want to argue Chiu Beard Friar. The friar with Chiu Beard opened his mouth and finally said nothing more. Xuanxie continued, but Yi Daoyu got the news from Xianwei and learned that Xuanjia's space channel was in Xuanjia's space? What's more, there are some false space channels to confuse the public and prevent our children from secretly using the channels to go to the spirit realm of Luo Tian. When Tian heard that all this was said by Xuanxie, he knew that there must be a reason, so he nodded to Xuanxie, this is the general news, and Xianwei didn't know the exact location of the space passage. Ha ha ha. Xuanxie laughed, Xianwei naturally doesn't know the specific situation. In fact, the space channel of Xuanjia is not in the space of Xuanjia, but outside the space of Xuanjia. Since I have broken with the Xians, and this news is what Yi Daoyu wants to know, I will tell you the truth. The space passage in the Xuanjia space is just a trap. It is used to confuse the Xuanjia disciples and the monks outside. In fact, it is mainly to cover the passage outside the space. Outside the space of Xuanjia? Yi Tian was very surprised. That's right. Fortunately, Daoyu didn't rush into the passageway in the mysterious space. If he did, it would be a very dangerous thing. The Xian family kept the whole secret, and would never let anyone know anything. The real space channel of Xuanjia is located in Huqiu Gorge. Huqiu Gorge? Yi Tian, suddenly surprised, asked, Xuandea said Huqiu Gorge is Xuanyu presided over by the Xuanjia side branch location? Yes, that's it. Xian Crack immediately nodded. Yi Daoyu must be very surprised. No one can imagine that the space channel owned by Xian family is there. When I got the news at the beginning, even Xuanmo was surprised and couldn't believe it easily. In fact, Xuanyu's branch is not a side branch of the Xuanjia family. To say it is a side branch is just to cover up. I don't know how many years ago, Xuanyu's group was originally the lineage in the Xuanjia space. Because they accepted the task of guarding the space passage, they demoted the Xuanjia in the name of being guilty. But in fact, all the previous masters of the Xuanjia have always treated Xuanyu as the lineage. In the Huqiu Gorge branch, the only one who knows about it is the head of the family. That is to say, only Xuanyu knows about that branch now. According to the secret provisions of the clan rules, no one other than the owner of the family can be informed, otherwise it will be dealt with strictly in violation of the clan rules. Hearing this, Yi Tian was also secretly surprised. After thinking about it, he asked, how can the Xian family keep this secret after countless years? After all, for countless years, there have been people traveling through space channels. Xuanyu gave a mysterious smile. It's good for many people to transmit, but the Xians are very secretive. The space passage exists there. It's impossible for Xuanyu to guard it alone, so it's impossible to hide it from everyone. But the Xians have come up with another way to deal with this matter. In that space channel, we made some masking and arranged it in the form of a transmission array. It is not only a transmission array, but also a common existence of multiple transmission arrays, so as to achieve the purpose of mixing fish and eyes and covering people's ears and eyes. For example, if you want to send people to the spirit realm of Luotian, you will directly send them to the location of the space passage through other transmission arrays, and there are fields around to prevent the detection of gods. Naturally, the people of the Xuanjia family who are being transmitted can't find out the location of the space passage. And the Xian family members who came back from the spirit realm of Luotian, after they were sent here, they also went through the transmission array. It is impossible to know where this place is. There are 6 similar teleportation arrays, all of which are supervised and guarded by the side branches of the Xians. Therefore, the teleportation array in Huqiu Gorge is not noticeable. After hearing that, Yi Tian finally understood the reason and thought that he was awe-inspiring to the arrangement of the Xian family. Who could have thought that the Xian family had spent so much time on a space passage? Fortunately, in the Xuanjia space, I didn't insist on exploring the space channel, otherwise I didn't know what trouble I would encounter. At least the chance of rescuing Xuanxia's father and son is bound to be blocked. After all, once he is discovered, the Xians will strengthen their vigilance, which can be regarded as alarming. After thinking about it, Yi Tian asked, Daoyu, can you tell us in detail the specific situation of the space passage of Huqiu Gorge? If you secretly use the space passage to leave there, is it possible? It's okay to talk about the situation there. As a young master of the family, I went to the space passageway to check in person, and I know the situation there quite well. However, Daoyu don't have to take risks alone. I think over and over again that there is no place for these people in Lansang's spiritual realm, and they can't hide for a long time. Once the family's Yupujing ancestors take action, the result will not be very optimistic. So I also want to take people through that space channel to Luotian spirit realm. The strength of the space passage can only allow the monks of Huashan realm and below to pass through, but the ancestors of Yupu realm can't pass through. Even when they arrive at the spirit realm of Luotian, they are still chased and killed by Xuanji, which is much easier to deal with. I wonder if Yi Daoyu can go with us. Yi Tian's purpose is just to enter the spirit realm of Luotian through the space channel. Since there are Xuanxia's companions, and he is familiar with the situation there, he naturally agrees. Seeing that Yi Tian agreed happily, Xuanxia was very happy. After a little consideration, he said, however, after this trip, I am not ready to return to Longsan Lingyu for the time being, and I hate the internal friction of the family. The only people I can't worry about are Yunqing, Du Mingyue, Zian, and Jiayue. I can't get rid of them. Instead, I don't care about them. I want to go to Luotian Lingyu. I also want to find them and go with them. However, Yi Daoyu can't be too optimistic. Xuanji knows that I am familiar with the space passageway, so I will send someone to guard it. Maybe it's all over the place now. But Yi Tian gave a cold smile. What if it's a net? It's just that we didn't agree on the time and place to meet when we parted with the Taoist friends of Yunqing and the people of Yunjia. Maybe they thought that I might not be able to succeed, so they didn't put some hope on me. At present, we can only go to where we are when we break up. Maybe we can find some clues. According to my estimation, they should leave some traces. Well, according to Daoyu, let's start now. Xian Crack originally is also this opinion. Here Yi Tian active put forward, naturally have no objection. With that, he took the rest of the Xian family out of the cave and left here. Wait a minute, Daoyu, are you ready to go out like this? Yi Tianyi reaches out his hand and stops them. Xuanxia stopped, looked at Yi Tian, and asked with a slightly puzzled look, are you going to find the Cloud family like this? If you encounter the children of Xuanji or are discovered by the ancestors of Yupujing, how do you deal with it? If there is a real encounter, if you can avoid it for a while. If you can't avoid it, you'll have to fight for it. Xian Crack expression coldly says. But Yi Tian shook his head, it's not impossible to fight, but do you fight with others barehanded? What Yi Daoyu means is to find some useful magic weapons first? Xian Crack heard the voice of Yi Tian's words, nodded and said. Yi Tian said with a smile, I don't have to look for it. I have it ready-made here. Just give it to you. Well, even if you don't weigh your hands, there's a magic weapon available. It's better than unarmed. Xian Crack thought that what Yi Tian said was just a common magic weapon. A little hesitation was not good to brush Yi Tian's good intention, so said. Yi Tian's gesture moved, and then his fingers bounced, and 8 shadows flew to the 8 people in the dark crack. With the eyes of all the people, it was clear that the shadow was Sumi Jie, so they took one of the mana and received it. Everyone has quickly stamped the mark of divine thought and completed the recognition of the Lord. Xuanxie and others feel quite ashamed. They are put into prison by Xuanji and all their wealth has been taken away. Now they are destitute. In addition to their cultivation restored by Yi Tian, they even need Yi Tian to provide Shumi commandment. However, they were surprised that Yi Tian, who had only the accomplishments of Longmen realm, could take out so many Shumi commandments at once. However, what happened next was to make them stare, and even the dark crack's face showed the color of horror. Yi Tian's gesture moves again, and dozens of magic weapons have appeared on the ground. It is absolutely sensational for a monk in Longmen to take out dozens of magic weapons. But a closer look reveals that these are not ordinary magic weapons, but all of them are half-immortal soldiers. With a gesture, Xuanxie moves a flying sword into his hand and recognizes it again. Yes, it's a Banxian soldier. This level of magic weapon just takes advantage of it. The highest level magic weapon they used was Banxian soldier. Although everyone had several pieces, the number of Banxian soldiers, including Xuanxie, was not as much as Yi Tian's exaggeration. Yi Daoyu. Where do you get these? The color of shock in Xian Crack eyes asks away in a flash. You are welcome to choose. These are the spoils Yi used to win against others. I can't use them alone. Yi Tian points to those half-immortal soldiers and explains with a smile. Xuanxie and others looked at each other, and the color of shock in their eyes was more obvious than before. Everyone knows that the friars who can have half-immortal soldiers are not ordinary friars, at least they must be above the realm of Yuanying. Even the vast majority of the monks in Yuanying are hard to own a half-immortal soldier. There are not even a few monks who have no magic weapon of semi-immortal soldier. With the magic weapon of Bangxianbing, the combat effectiveness of the monk will be greatly improved, but Yi Tian captured so many Bangxianbing in the fight with others, which is simply unbelievable. He is just a monk in Longmen realm. No matter how powerful he is, he can't compete with the monk in Yuanying realm. There is a golden elixir realm between them? However, to say that Yi Tian is bragging, people are unwilling to admit it. In this matter, Yi Tian absolutely has no need to boast. This man can refine the forbidden breaking pill and rescue them safely from the Xuanjia space. He regards these semi-immortal soldiers as dung. At first sight, he is not an ordinary monk in Longmen realm. There's an unimaginable secret in this man. When people think about it like this, no one treats Yi Tian as a junior who only has the cultivation of Longmen realm. Although there is a big gap in the realm on the surface, in the heart, Yi Tian is regarded as a monk of the same realm, with some respect in his gratitude. Thank you, Dao Yu Yi. They bow their hands to Yi Tian and choose a half-immortal soldier. Even Xianfeng chooses one of them. Just one? Seeing that all the people had chosen only one, Yi Tian pointed to many semi-immortal soldiers on the ground. You can just choose. Yi Daoyu, one thing is enough. We're not here to eat big people. Xian Crack says with a smile. Well, if you need to, just call me at any time. Having said that, Yi Tian collected the remaining Banxian soldiers, took out 8 storage bags and threw them to 8 people. There are 100,000 immortal jades in each one. Give them to a Taoist friend first. When the mana consumption is excessive, you can recover the mana at any time. Yi Tian said. Xian Crack and others silently took the past. God thought to recognize the Lord, swept a look inside the fairy jade, and then put it away. There are not many monks who can deliver 800,000 Xianyu directly without blinking their eyelids, especially those in Longmen realm. Xuanxie and others are not so surprised at these immortal jade. They can capture so many semi-immortal soldiers and still lack immortal jade. But as a result, the origin of Yi Tian is more and more mysterious in people's eyes. Fellow Taoists, you are still short of something to use. Please speak. You are welcome. See, everyone put away the storage bag, Yi Tian asked again. Xuanxie waved his hand and said, these are enough. Yi Daoyu doesn't have to worry anymore. Yi Tian no longer reluctantly, then nodded, well, or that sentence, if there is any need to speak at any time, Yi has some wealth. However, in order to avoid encountering the great monk of Yupu realm outside, we are completely in a passive situation, so we have to make some preparations. I have a set of array flags here. It's called Baji array flag. 8-pole array flag? I have heard that the Qin family has a set of array flags, also known as the 8-pole array. After being inspired, you can trap the great friar of Yupu realm. I wonder if Yi Daoyu's array flags are the same as those of the Qin family. Listen to Yi Tian say here, Xian Crack eyebrow slightly apicked to say. Qin family? If Xuandea said that the Qin family is the Qin family of Lanfeng City, then this flag should be the set of Qin family. Yi bought this set of array flag at the Lanfeng City fair. Yi Tian nodded slightly. Xuanxie smiles bitterly and shakes his head. Yi Daoyu is at a loss this time. Xuanmo hears that the power of the Qin family's 8-pole array flag is about to run out and can't be used anymore. This is equivalent to a scrap and no longer has the effect of trapping the great monk in Yupu realm. This matter is extremely hidden, and few people know about it. Even the Qin family has such a set of banners, which is extremely secret. The Qin family has never mentioned it. Only when I saw the Qin family once in a while did I know the secret. At that time, the Qin family besieged an 8-level monster. Because of the exhaustion of its power, it was escaped by the Yupu realm at this time. Yi Tian chuckled, you know only one of them, but you don't know the other. It's true that the array flag's power is exhausted, but Yi has already infused the power into the flag, and it has returned to its peak state, so it can be used naturally. Hearing what Yi Tian said, Xuanxi was shocked. Yi Daoyu has this magic power. Why don't you say that this array flag can live forever, infuse power at any time, and then there will be a situation where the power will be exhausted? But Yi Tian shook his head and said with a bitter smile, what Xuandea said is too simple. Theoretically, it is so, but it is not so simple to infuse the power. The required materials are a lot of top-quality fairy jade. Without top-quality fairy jade, it is impossible to supplement the power. Xuanxi nodded and said, when Yi Daoyu mentioned this set of 8-pole array flag, do you want us to learn how to use this array flag to set up the array, and once we encounter the Great Friar of Yupu realm, we can also have a way to deal with it? Yi Tian Dao said, this is one of them. Second, if you encounter too many opponents, you can also use this array flag to set up the array. At least one of them can trap 100 monks. In this way, the friars with lower accomplishments can have enough time to escape. After removing the array flag, the people who set up the array will escape again, which will reduce the casualties. Such as Xian and Du Mingyue, their realm is still too low. That's right. No matter what the situation is, with this array flag, we should have a powerful means of self-protection. Please start now. Yi Tian didn't say much on the spot. He went outside the cave, took out the magic weapon cave where all the disciples lived, went in, and soon came out of it, but he had this set of 8-pole array flags in his hand. The Baji array flag is in the hands of the disciples, but it can barely trap the monks of Washinjing. Now there are 8 monks on the side of Xuanxi, and the disciples can't use it anymore. It's better to put it in the hands of Xuanxi and others, and it can make a surprise victory and play a greater role. At present, Yi Tian handed the main array flag to Xuanxi, and the other 7 array flags were also sent to everyone. Although Xianfeng didn't transform the divine realm, he could barely use it. Then he explained it in detail in the underground space. Xuanxi had seen the Qin family decorate the array with his own eyes. He had an intuitive impression and understood it when he learned it. The others are also very savvy. With Yi Tian's explanation and a little demonstration, they have already remembered the main points of array arrangement. Although the venue is narrow, the array flag can be arranged in a large or small way. As long as the octopole position is good, there will be no problem. The difference is that if you set up a large field, you will spend more mana on the arranger, and vice versa. Do you think it's convenient for us to go on the road together or for us to go on the road alone? It doesn't make much sense to have too many people. On the contrary, it makes people move. He sent this magic weapon cave to Daoyu, asking Daoyu to decide for himself. See, everyone is familiar with the layout of the 8-pole array flag, Yi Tian said again. Originally, Xianshan didn't want to let these things go with him. They were very tired and easy to expose. However, the magic weapon cave belongs to Yi Tian. He was embarrassed to suggest that he should use it first. Because of Yi Tian's character, he would definitely give it away. However, he had received so many gifts from others, so it was hard for him to open his mouth. However, if Yi Tian is allowed to carry the cave, although Yi Tian is quite mysterious and seems to have many means, he is a monk in Longmen. In case of any accident, the Xians may be in danger in his cave. But now Yi Tian took the initiative to mention it, and Xuanxi thought about it and said, it's okay for me to go on the road with Yi Daoyu, but I can't take this magic weapon cave, just use it for the time being. It's too expensive. It's just a magic weapon cave. Don't mention it to Xuandeu. Yi Tian waved his hand and said with a smile, I have a lot of these caves. I once gave one to Du Daoyu. For the convenience of action, Xuandeu just took it. It's better to be respectful than obedient. Xuanxi is no longer polite. When Yi Tian wipes off his own brand of soul, he calls others into the cave after he recognizes the Lord. Then he takes the cave into Zumaji. At the moment, Yi Tian didn't say much about it anymore. Zhong Xuanxi nodded his head and directly used 2 dun to escape tens of miles horizontally. After he was far away from the blood forest, he got out of the ground and identified the direction. Then they both disappeared and flew away to the distance. At the beginning, the dark crack also extremely suppressed the speed, but saw Yi Tian to follow very relaxed time, then accelerated the escape speed. But Yi Tian is still very easy to follow. Xuanxie is surprised to raise his speed to the level of a monk in Jindanjing. It's strange that Yi Tian is still able to follow. This kind of speed surprised Xianxia. He tried to speed up again until he reached the normal Yuanying realm. Then he vaguely noticed the upper limit of Yi Tian. Although I feel that Yi Tian has tried his best to activate the mana, he is still very relaxed. Seeing this situation, Xuanxie can't help but wonder that he is the first monk in Longmen realm who can escape at such a speed, and this speed is rare even in Jindan realm. What's more strange is that Yi Tian's mana is very long. Even if he keeps this speed for a long time, he doesn't see any reduction in his speed. Yi Daoyu, Jiayue is in danger. I'll take the lead. You should be careful. One day later, while they were flying, the mysterious crack suddenly changed its look and said a word in a hurry. Then it turned into a light and flew away to the distance. Soon it disappeared. Yi Tian is deeply afraid of the loss of Xian Crack, so he quickly takes out Dun Tiansuo, steps into it, and chases in the direction of Xian Crack at full speed. At this time, about 3,000 miles away from here, a monk was flying away in the direction of Yi Tian. When he got up, 7 friars chased him closely. 3 of them were biting hard, and their speed was as fast as that of Yun Zhong. The other 4 were a little slower, but they were also chasing after him. In front of him, Yun Zhong frowned and his whole body mana urged him. The flying sword of the half-immortal soldier under his feet had reached the extreme speed, but the 3 men behind him kept at a distance of 30 zhang and could not shake away half a minute. Moreover, the distance was constantly shortening. He is the late cultivation of the spirit state, and the 3 are also the late cultivation of the spirit state. They are the same in the realm, but each other's speed is faster than him. If they keep flying at this speed, they will soon be overtaken by each other. At that time, as long as they delay a little, they will face the siege of 7 Xuanxia monks. The result can be imagined. At this time, he secretly regretted that he shouldn't bring Yunqing, Du Mingyue, Xian, and the Xians into the magic cave. He thought that this would make the action more convenient. But the disadvantages are also obvious. As long as you encounter an accident, others will not be spared. At this time, it's too late to release the people in the magic weapon cave and let them run for their own lives. Yun Zhong looks at the Xian family's pursuers behind him, and his heart can't help worrying. After a few more breaths, he suddenly saw a distant light beam coming, much faster than himself. Just as he wanted to turn an angle and continue to escape, he heard a familiar voice, "Don't worry, my father-in-law, the crack is coming." Mysterious crack? Hearing this name, Yun Zhong can't help but shake his body. Seeing that Dao Dunguang has come near, he can see clearly. Is it not his daughter's Taoist partner Xian Crack, or which one? Seeing the mysterious crack, Yun Zhong was very surprised and happy at that time. He could not help but loudly remind him, "Be careful, son-in-law." After that, Yun Zhong moves his hand, and the magic weapon cave in Zumaji has been released. Then a magic power is played out, and Huang Yanxiu and the other 2 Yuns are called out. In this way, there are 5 of them, 7 of them are monks of the Xian family, and the Xian Crack is the peak cultivation of the spirit realm. There is a great chance of success. When Yun Zhong was ready to turn around to meet the enemy, he unexpectedly saw that Xuanxia had also released a magic weapon cave. Then he flew out of the magic weapon cave and stopped in the air. Then he flew to the chasing 7. Xian Crack. Did you recover your accomplishments? The late monk of Zhuangjiawa, who was in front of him, suddenly stagnated, his face changed and exclaimed. "Xian Yao, my name is what you can call me." The Xian Crack angrily drinks, the body shape is like electricity then shoots to that person, the right palm suddenly pats to that friar but descend. The monk named Xian Yao knew how powerful Xian Yao was, so he didn't hesitate to fly back. He wanted to escape without fighting. But he didn't expect that Xuanxia's body suddenly accelerated. Almost in a flash, he had come to the man's back. The terrible poem was taken. The man's body suddenly fell down, and his body moved. The flying sword at his feet drew a swordlight, circled slightly in the air and shot at the figure. At this time, Xian Yao tried his best to avoid, holding the flying sword in his hand, and suddenly picked the flying sword of Xuanxia. However, the flying sword controlled by Xuanxie suddenly accelerated. Xuanyao sword only picked on the virtual shadow of the sword, but the sword suddenly penetrated into his chest. Almost at the same time, the 6 monks of the Cloud family and the 4 monks of the Cloud family who were released by the Xian crack were also the remaining monks who rose up to chase the Xian family. In an instant, the host and the guest changed to each other. With the help of Xuanxie and others, the Cloud family turned from escaping to chasing. In the face of such a lineup, the 6 monks of the Xuanjia family did not dare to fight. They were afraid that they would be entangled and could not get away. That would surely lead to the fall. However, even so, the 4 slowest states were the lowest, and the slowest monk of the Xuanjia family was caught up by Xianmeng and others and launched a siege. Invisibility. They don't have body beads. One of the friars suddenly had an idea and yelled loudly. Then his body disappeared from the original place. Until now, he remembered that after Xuanxie and others were put into prison, Xu Mijie was taken away by Xuanji. He should have escaped in a hurry without any treasure. This is really right. After the 4 members of the Xian family disappeared one after another, the 6 members of Xianmeng were all scattered, for fear of the other party's stealth attack. It's a pity that none of them can escape if they have the Pearl of Immobility. Xianmeng painfully said a word, but also a flash into the invisible body. The other 5 people are the same. In order not to be attacked, it can only be so. Here comes the pearl. At this time, a light came quickly, and then the 3 beads drew 3 lines and flew to a place in the air. There was a light connection between the 3 beads, forming a triangle, emitting dazzling white light. This is what Xianmeng said. When he came to this light, he was the one who drove Dun Tiansua and then came after Yi Tian. Yi Tian seized it from the monk of Xuanfei's family. From Xuanfei's memory until it was named Dingshan bead, it was a strange magic weapon to break the invisibility. I just didn't expect that it would be useful at this time. Dingshan Zhu. It's really Dingshan Zhu. I didn't expect Yi Daoyu to have it. Xian Jun drank excitedly. He let go of his mind and looked at the dazzling light emitted by the 3 fixed body beads. However, he saw that under the reflection of the light, there were 9 dark shadows flashing within a mile or 2 nearby. Show yourself. With the help of the dark shadow, he could not tell the enemy from us. Xian Jun immediately yelled and showed his figure. Then Xianmeng and other 5 people recovered from the stealth state and all showed their figure. The remaining 4 shadows were naturally the monks of Xuanji. Xianmeng, Xianjun and other 6 people immediately chose the shadow nearby without hesitation, and all kinds of attacks burst out. The 4 men knew that their invisibility had been broken. If they continued to be invisible, they would be forced to show their bodies and fight with Xianmeng and others. But Yi Tian, after releasing the pearl, Dun Tiansua didn't slow down at all, and went straight to the 4 men in front of Xianxia and Yunxia. At this time, the mysterious crack also fell into the same state as Xianjun and Xianmeng. The 2 monks who fled from the Xuanjia family in the later period of the spirit realm suddenly disappeared and lost their sight. There is no fixed body bead in Xuanxie, and the spotlight powder prepared by Yunzhong and others is used up because of many fierce battles, so they can't break the opponent's invisibility. It's a pity that it's a failure. They didn't stay. Xuanxia was in the air and sent out several waves of mana continuously. He searched the positions of the 2 invisible Xuanjia friars, but found nothing. Finally, he looked around at the vast blue sky and sighed. Cloud Crackway friend, left front 15, Zhang place has a person. Just at this time, the voice of Yi Tian came from Xuanxia's ear. As soon as he let go of his mind, Xuanxia found that Yi Tian was coming from behind. At his feet, he was stepping on a magic weapon in the shape of a shuttle. Its speed was far faster than that of the flying sword. He didn't have time to think more about what treasure it was, so the flying sword immediately sent out a cold light and shot to the direction of Yi Tian. However, there was only a trace of air wave, which spread to the distance. With this slight wave, Xuanxia had found the enemy's action track, and his body flashed up to attack continuously. Although the occult art of Xuanjia is similar to that of Yi Tianfa, both of them can conceal breath. But even the same kind of magic power has different effects on different people. Yi Tianfeng's Taoism has reached its peak, so stealth flight or movement will not cause airwaves. Although the Xuanjia people are in a high level, they can only show that their magic power is powerful, which has nothing to do with the understanding of the wind attribute. As far as the understanding degree of the wind attribute is concerned, Tian can fall 10 blocks behind them, so it is not easy to find this kind of air fluctuation caused by stealth movement when the wind is surging and the clouds are turbulent. However, when everyone calms down, this kind of fluctuation is easy to be detected by such high-level monks as Xuanxie. Cloud crack this side move, Cloud Zhong that side also move with it. After warning Xuanxie, he points out the location of another member of the Xuanjia family to Yunzhong. Yunzhong naturally is very convinced of Yi Tian. Hearing his voice, he does not hesitate to make a terrorist attack on the position pointed out by Yi Tian. In the face of such an attack, the monk of the Xuanjia family had to use his means to fight against the attack. His figure could no longer be hidden. The two men withdrew their invisibility one after another and fought with the monk of the Xuanjia family. After this appearance, his figure was immediately locked by Xuanxie and Yunzhong, and all kinds of attacks covered the two Xuanjia monks within a radius of 34 zhang. Among these people, Xian Crack is the highest and the first one to succeed. The flying sword of the half-immortal soldier in his hand suddenly enlarges at a certain moment and sweeps away to his opponent with a terrible thunder. The light of the sword is as fast as lightning. The monk of the Xian family couldn't avoid it at all. He was cut in two by this sword. His Yuanying escaped from the elixir field and was broken into pieces by the Xian family. On the other hand, Yun Zhong had already won after counting the interest. When the sword was entangled, he flew up and clapped his hand on the other side's head. The other side's head was smashed without suspense. At this time, Yi Tian has put away Dun Tiansuo, suspended in the air, looking at the situation behind him. Shen Meng, Xian Jun and other 6 friars fought against 4 of the Xians and 2 of the early and middle stage monks in the spirit realm, and the battle was over. There are 2 monks in Xuanming's later stage and 2 in the middle stage. They have an overwhelming advantage in both the strength and the number of people. The speed of killing each other's 4 is only less than 10 breaths slower than that of Xuanxie. A moment later, the battlefield had been cleaned up, and all the killed Xuanjia friars were reduced to ashes by Xuanxie and others with Taoist flame. You can't stay here for long. Find a safe place first, and then talk. Seeing that Xuanxie and Yunzhong are talking, the Xians and Yuns dissuade each other. Yi Tian frowns and reminds them. Yes, Yi Daoyu is right. Xian crack a pat forehead, to Cloud Zhong a wave, father-in-law, we and leave here. Say words, cast to the leaf day to inquire of vision. Yi Tian Dai stepped on the fierce sword and shot away in the distance. Shen Crack Eye's surprised color a flash to follow up, before Yi Tian's stealth flight, did not use the fierce sword, but at this time, its speed is much faster than before. Other people are shocked to see this situation. If they don't know that Yi Tian is really the cultivation of Longmen realm, they still think which high-level monk is hiding the realm and pretending to be a monk of Longmen realm. Yi Tian didn't fly far away, but at a distance of 300 or 400 li, Yi Tian fled into the ground. After he had been more than 10,000 meters, he took out the seal magic weapon and created a large space. We can release the cave. Then, Yi Tianchao and Yunzhong nodded and said. They take out their own caves. After zooming in, one of them goes out of Xianfeng, while the other goes out of Yunqing, Dumingwei and Xian. Mother! Bright moon! The wind! Xianfeng! When people on both sides saw each other, their heartbreaking calls almost came out at the same time. In a moment of stupor, they quickly came together and hugged each other for a long time. Yun Shang and Du Mingyue had tears on their faces, and even choked when they spoke. The only one who didn't speak was Xian. Looking at the man opposite, she knew that this man was her father, but she felt strange. For a moment, she didn't know how to talk. Yi Tian turned around and waved to Xuanxie and Yunzhong. He pointed to one of the caves and said, "We don't have to look at those who love each other. We'd better go to the cave to talk about the future." The corner of Shin Crack's eye slightly pulls out, thinking, I still want to wait for them to finish, and also say a few words with Yun Qing, but since Yi Tian has said so, he also understands Yi Tian's psychology, everything is important, now these people are not out of danger. At present, all the members of the Xian family and Yun Zhong's party follow Yi Tian into the cave. Such a situation makes the people of the Cloud family and the Xian family have a wonderful feeling. Although Yi Tian has only the cultivation of Longmen realm, it seems that he dominates the rhythm from the beginning to the end. This calmness, aura and concentration are far beyond the ordinary Longmen realm. If time goes by, this person will surely soar to the sky. Yi Tian didn't know that he was just worried, but because of this, he made himself more and more important in people's mind. After sitting down, Yunzhong first looked at Yi Tian and said with his hands clasped, "Yi Xiaoyu, I can't imagine that you really entered the space where the Xian family was. You not only saved Xuanxie and Xianfeng, but also saved 6 more people. I really admire my courage and strength. What's more, if you didn't come here today, I'm afraid these people in the Cloud family would not be able to escape the vicious hand of the mystery. I owe you a great favor again. Yi is just a coincidence. It's just luck. This time I have to meet Mr. Yun by mistake. Don't talk about human feelings. After that, if you want to go to the spirit realm of Luotian, you have to rely on all of you who are sitting here." When Yi Tian heard him say this, he knew that Xuanxie had already told Yunzhong what had happened. Then he waved his hand back with a smile. "Well, don't say thank you. Let's talk about Luotian Lingyu now. However, before the negotiation, please accept this." At this time, Xuanxie takes over the conversation, and then puts the 7 Xumi commandments in front of Yi Tian. With a glance, Yi Tian knew that the 7 Xumi commandments were seized from the 7 monks of the Xian family in the war. He gently pushed the 7 Xumi commandments to Xuanzhan and said, "Xuandeo and others have lost all their wealth. It's just when you need all the resources. You can keep these things by yourself. It's hard for you to go on the road. It's good to have more help. Although Ye's wealth is limited, it's enough. No, you must take these things. Today, if you didn't use your means to see through those people's behavior, not only you can't get these Xumi precepts, but also you can expose our position. What's more, you can preserve the vitality of the mystery, and you will fight back against us in the future. No matter from which angle, you must take these things." Xuanxie insists on pushing Xumi back. Yi Tian knew that it was meaningless to push things around like this, and these things were really useful to Xuanxie, so he pondered, "Xuandeo, it's better for Yi to accept these things. But it's for you to use it for the time being. How about returning it to me after you are safe and before Yi leaves Lansun spirit realm?" Xin Crack looked at Yi Tian and said with a bitter smile, "Since Yi Daoyu said so, Xuanmo will follow your words. If Xuanmo has extra strength, he will double his reward." Yi Tian waved his hand with a smile. "We'll talk about it later, then." According to his opinion, if he can leave Lansun spiritual realm smoothly and go to Luotian spiritual realm, it is of no importance to have a few Xumi commandments, even if there is much wealth in it. It belongs to Yi Daoyu. Now give it back to him. At this time, Xianjun put Yi Tian's 3 beads in front of him. This thing is useful for Yi Tian. He nodded slightly, motioned and put it away. Seeing Yi Tian's insistence, Xuanxie took the 7 Xumi commandments in his hand and left one of them. The other 6 were given to Xianjun, Xianmeng and other 6 monks. With the result of this matter, Xuanxie said again, "In order to avoid the pursuit of Xuanjia, we have to leave Lansun Lingyu, but we will come back in the end." To Huzhou Gorge, Xuanmo thinks that the less the number of people on the surface, the better. The rest are in the cave for the time being. On Xian's side, Xian is outside. Yunzhong then said, "I agree with the proposal of Xuanxie. On the Cloud side, I'm outside. I've learned how to hide. There's no problem in hiding. Before, if the Xians didn't have their own beads, I could have escaped by myself. As for Yi Xiaoyu? What Yi Tianming and Bai Yunzhong mean is that he still feels that his cultivation is too low. If he is outside, it will be inconvenient. But he is tied up with more than 200 lives. How can he give it to others completely? At least he can escape even when he is in danger outside. And in the cave, I listen to the name of heaven." At the moment, Yi Tian said, Yi has the magic power of Heavenly Eye. He can see the invisible people of Xuanjia at any time. It's more convenient outside. Besides, Yi has many means, and he basically encounters danger. Suandeo and Master Yun don't have to worry about my safety. Just take care of yourself. In this case, Yi Daoyu, his father-in-law, and Xian are walking outside, he said. Now that the personnel have decided on the route, we will decide on the next route. Of course, the routes we have decided now are all temporary. If anything happens along the way, we can adjust the route at any time. Yun Zhong said, there should be no dispute about the route. To Tiger Leaping Gorge, go straight all the way. If you lose sight in the middle of the way, you can determine several meeting points. Xuanmo agreed with his father-in-law's opinion that the army was expensive and the speed was high. He rushed to Huxiaxia in the shortest time. He chose 3 meeting places, Xianling, Macho Cave, and Luquan Stream. What do you think? Xian Crack nods to agree away. The 3 places mentioned by him are relatively famous. Yi Tian knows from his memory that they are all on the straight road to Tiger Leaping Gorge. They are not far from each other. No matter where they are lost, they can have the closest meeting point. The arrangement of Xuanxie is reasonable. But after listening to them, Yi Tian frowned and said, Suandeo, Master Yun, Yi has a little different opinion. Yi Daoyu, please tell me that our discussion here is to brainstorm and determine the best plan of action, but it's okay to say so. The color of the accident in Xian Crack I flashed but still nodded to say. Yi Tian said, the place where we killed the 7 members of the Xian family before can be regarded as a point. If we go straight to Tiger Leaping Gorge, if we meet the members of the Xian family on the way, then the Xuanji group will probably determine our destination by these 2 points. When they are ready, they will cast a big net. I'm afraid it's hard for us to go to the Luotian spirit realm again. My idea is to go in the opposite direction first, confuse the audiovisual of the mystery and disturb their judgment, and then go along the curve and get to the Tiger Leaping Gorge unconsciously. In this way, even if the mystery is arranged in the Tiger Leaping Gorge, we will not put all our efforts into it. Our strategy of attacking the west from the east should attract some people in the past. Yi Tian thinks that this plan is relatively safe and feasible. Unexpectedly, Xuanxie and Yunzhong look at each other and shake their heads in silence. What Yi Daoyu said is very reasonable. Xian also appreciates Yi Daoyu's wisdom and prudence. However, I think it's important to be quick. As Yi Daoyu said, taking a circuitous route may delay some time. On the contrary, it will give Xuanji time to arrange calmly. Why don't we just go straight ahead, and if it's okay, we'll go straight to the spirit realm of Luotian. If it's not feasible, how about we make a decision? Yi Tian takes a look at Yun Zhong. Seeing that Yun Zhong doesn't speak, he knows that this shows that he supports Xian Crack's opinion. Yi Tian is not sure how Xuanji will deal with it. Since it's 2-1, he doesn't insist anymore. He says with a smile, since Suandea has a plan, I'll follow your arrangement. However, since there are enough monks in Washinjing, Xianfeng doesn't need to participate in the arrangement of this array. Let Yanqiu take part in the battle. This 8-pole array is really powerful. It once saved my life. Yanqiu has a lot of research on the field and has seen the array layout. She should start soon. Cloud Zhong says immediately. Yi Tian and Xuanxie naturally have no opinions. No matter who they are, as long as they are monks of Washinjing, they can make up for Xuanfeng's weakness. There will be no accident if they are trapped in Yupu. After deliberation, they went out to another cave. Yunqing, Xianfeng, Du Mingyue and Xian are sitting on the futon talking. The previous sadness and surprise have been swept away from people's faces, filled with quiet joy and joy. See Yi Tian and others into the cave, people quickly get up. Xian ran to hold Yi Tian's arm, appears particularly intimate. She didn't expect to see her master again so soon. She was called out of the cave before. The scene before her had a great impact on him. Her parents finally reunited. When she saw her own father for the first time in her life, she was shocked. At that time, when he saw Yi Tian's figure, he doubted that he was in a dream. Well, it's a great joy to be reunited today. It's a long time to talk about it. Now the situation outside is still very dangerous. You are in the mansion for the time being. We'll leave immediately for the spirit realm of Luotian. It's relatively safe there. We're outside. You don't have to worry about it. Xian Crack took a deep look at his own Yunqing, and said to everyone. This sentence is for you and Yunqing. They all nodded, but Yunqing came over, took Xuanxie's arm, and said in a soft voice, everything should be more careful. If there is any situation, I can go out to help. After all, I have entered Yuanying state. Xian Clef took Yunqing's soft and boneless hand for a while and said, you can rest assured here. I'll come to you when I need to. Having said that, Xuanxie said to Yunzhong and Yi Tian, let's set out here. Father, I want to be with you too. At this time, Xianfeng suddenly stepped forward and opened his mouth. Xian cracked brow wrinkly, Wei, Win son, your realm is low, still safe in the cave, if you go together, will make us can't let go. Well, how can Master Yi be outside? Is he the cultivation of Longmen? Xianfeng looks at Yi Tian and asks. Xuanxie patted Xianfeng on the shoulder and said, my father knows that you want to take on more responsibilities. I don't want to hide in the cave like a child and let others shelter you from the wind and rain. But you also know that although Yi Daoyu only has the cultivation of Longmen realm, he is by no means comparable to the ordinary golden elixir friars. Well, don't worry about us, that's it. With these words, Xuanxie turns to leave the cave. Yi Tian and Yunzhong take a look at them, and they also turn to leave. Xuanxie and Yunzhong put away their caves. They whispered and disappeared. One day later, somewhere in the sky, after a long journey, Yi Tian, Xianxie and Yunzhong stopped moving forward, quietly suspended above the sky, looked at the valley far away and began to talk quietly. The day before, although I met some friars along the way, it was a smooth journey. They didn't have much to do, they all avoided far away. It took 6 or 7 days to fly from the starting point to Wuchou Gorge in the northwest. Just after the end of the first day, we found out the situation. The mountain ahead belongs to Yedu mountain range, which is the only way to Tiger Leaping Gorge. However, in the valley thousands of miles away, Xuanxie and Yunzhong found that there are more than a dozen Xuanjia people in it. To be exact, it's the monk of Xuanji. Moreover, they were not invisible, but they knew they were sitting in the valley, and they were accompanied by a man and a woman. These two people are not the children of the Xian family, but the people of the Yun family. They were tied to the tree with ropes. Someone was holding a whip and was beating hard. Cloud Zhong and Xian Crack, two people's facial expressions are very ugly. Even Leaf Day explores this situation, also can't help frowning. This kind of trap is too obvious. As a monk, there are many ways to control it. It's the smallest way to tie a rope to a tree. As a friar, he is very strong and hard to be damaged by ordinary knives and guns, let alone ordinary whip. Obviously, this method is not to destroy or vent anger, but to insult and provoke. I didn't expect that the mystery group should be so despicable. They should use such dirty means to force us to show up. Yun Zhong said angrily. After exploring the valley, he said, those 10 people are just the cultivation of Yuanying, but there must be some high-level monks hiding nearby, and according to my estimation, there should be more than one such situation. They bet that we will not save ourselves if we see death. Yun Zhong nodded gently. Once we start, no matter whether we succeed or not, we will expose our position. Next, we may face more cruel killing. But if we don't save, how can we watch the people suffer? Both of them are in a dilemma. It's really not a good choice. Yi Tian said, let's not talk about saving and how to save. At least we have to make sure how many people the other side has laid ambush before we start. This distance, my heavily eye magic power cannot play a role. It is better to see clearly after close to make plans. Yi Mao's idea is that since he is a member of the clan of Senior Yun, the people who can be bound here by the mystery and threaten you to show up should be very important to you. There's no reason why he can't save his life without any reason. Yun Zhong nodded, I'd like to help you. I'm afraid Yi Daoyu is involved and the whole action is blocked. Yi Daoyu has done too much for Wei Yan's family and Xian's family. It's just that I hate the Cloud family. It's shameless to the whole extent. My family members let the Xian family give up. It seems that in order to please the Xian family, the Cloud family has completely abandoned me. When he said these words, the muscles on Yun Zhong's face were shaking, and his expression was very sad. My father-in-law, I think what Yi Daoyu said is right. We can make a decision after we have a clear view of the situation. And now, our strength is still enough to fight a war. We can turn 11 into the divine realm. As long as we don't meet the great friars in Yupu realm, and we have the help of the 8-pole array flag, even if we have a little stronger manpower, we can do a lot. At this time, Xuanxie analyzed the situation of the enemy and ourselves. Well, let's take a closer look. We must be careful not to expose the position easily. If we can do it, we can do it. If we can't do it, we can't do it. If the other party doesn't find us, the two clansmen won't be in any danger. After all, mystery still wants to lure us to show up. It's just that after being humiliated, we have to face a bad result. Yun Zhong told him that he was deeply worried about the fate of the two people. Yi Tian and Xian Crack both nodded and did not continue to talk. Hiding their bodies, they spread out a certain distance and flew carefully to the valley. Along the way, Yi Tian has always been the source of Heaven's eyes, carefully observing the surrounding situation, all calm, there is no exception. However, the closer to the valley, Yi Tian is more alert and does not miss any details. Stop. When it was about 30 li away from the valley, Yi Tian suddenly sent a sound to Yunzhong and Xuanxie. Did Yi Dao Yu find something? Xian Crack sends a sound to ask away. Yes, just as you expected, there are invisible monks of Xian family near the valley. Yi Tian said to Yunzhong after he sent a message to Xian Crack. How many people? About what realm? Xuanxie asked in a hurry. Yi Tian Dao said, at present, we can see 7 people, but we can't see the specific realm just by sight. Suandeo and Master Yun can't use the divine idea to explore, which will scare the snake. As for whether there are ambushes elsewhere, we have to get closer to know. Alright, everyone be careful. Xian Crack finished saying, repeat Yi Tian's words to Yunzhong again. 2 people quietly discussed a few words, agreed with Yi Tian's opinion. The 3 continued to hide and fly to the valley, moving more carefully. Flying out of about 10 miles, Yi Tian called them again. Suandeu, at present, there are 16 Xuanjia friars. According to common sense, they should all cultivate in the spirit realm. Otherwise, it is useless to ambush a few Yuanyingjing friars. All Yuanyingjing friars should be put on the surface. Yi Tian said. Yi Dao Yu, can you see their appearance clearly? If you can, tell me the characteristics of those people. Maybe from a little trace, Xian can judge who is in the Xian family, and also can infer their general state. The dark crack continued to spread the sound. Yi Tian glanced around the valley and said, it's okay to see clearly. Let's describe it to you. On the big tree with 3 transverse branches outside the valley, the invisible friar was thin and dry, with gray hair and a mole on his chin. He put a bamboo hairpin around his bun. I know that this man is called Xuanyan. He can transform the spiritual realm into the early cultivation. Let's continue to talk about others. Don't wait for Yi Tian to finish, Xian Crack then open mouth everywhere each other's name and realm. On the boulder at the mouth of the valley, this invisible monk is big and muscular. His chest bulges like a woman, with a big round face and 2 braids around his ears. Yi Tian continues to describe. Well, I know the name of this man is Xuan Wu. He can transform the spirit into a medium-term cultivation. Yi Dao Yu, let's talk about the next one. Once again, the Xian Crack passed on the way. Xuan Wu? That's a good name. On the grass on the other side of the big stone, there is a nun. Well, nuns are rare in the Xian family. The prominent feature of this nun is that her chest is flat, like an airport. Yi Tian observed and described, and the nun frowned, what field? Oh, it's just that he has a very average figure. He wears a necklace made of some kind of bone around his neck. It's a little bit long and strange. It should not protrude, it shouldn't protrude in disorder. Yi Tian stepped up his feelings when describing it. This is Xuanjiao. She looks ugly, but her cultivation is high. In the later period of spiritual cultivation, she never has a Taoist partner. At this time, Xuanxie has already uttered the name of the other party. Yi Tian described the outstanding characteristics of the other 13 monks in turn, and Xuanxie gave each other's name and cultivation realm according to Yi Tian's description. There are 2 top monks, 2 late monks, 3 middle monks and 9 early monks. In a word, it's all about the cultivation of spiritual state, which is completely consistent with Yi Tian's previous guess. At this time, Xuanxie has already told Yunzhong the hidden power of Xuanjia, and then Yi Tian sees that the 2 people's faces are extremely ugly. He talks for a moment. Yi Daoyu, I've discussed with Jia Yue. The Xians are too powerful here. We're going to go around. There's nothing we can do about the 2 members of the Yuns. Soon, Xian Crack to Yi Tian reported the result of the discussion. Hearing this result, Yi Tian pondered and said nothing. What Xuanxie and Yunzhong thought was right. This power was really too strong. There are only 11 monks who have transformed the divine realm, but there are 16 monks in the Xuanjia family, and there are more than 10 monks in Yuanying realm. There are only 2 people in the Xuanjia family. There is no contrast in strength. However, seeing the extremely unwilling expression on Yunzhong's face, Yi Tian said to Xian Crack, wait a moment, let me think of another way. Yi Daoyu, no matter what method, the comparison of strength is here. In the face of absolute strength, all methods are insufficient. Xuanxie has thought about all the possible methods, but he can't save the 2 members of the Cloud family without any loss. If you only want to save the 2 Yun family members who only have Yuanying realm, and then put in 1 or 2 monks who have changed the divine realm, Xianchan doesn't want to do this. What's more, if the situation deteriorates, it's impossible to predict how much damage it will cause once it starts. Xuandeo, I think the friars of Xuanji can break through each one. If they don't have any damage, even if you enter the spirit realm, these mysterious irons will catch up with the spirit realm. At that time, the situation may be more serious than now. Yi Tian thought and said. In the space of the Xian family, I once heard 2 children of the Xian family talking. They talked about the attitude of the ancestors of the Xian family. They said that the main reason why they didn't interfere too much in the affairs of the Xian family was that the power of the Xian family was too strong. If we can defeat them individually, maybe the attitude of the ancestors of the Xians will change, which is likely to be more beneficial to the Xians. Yi doesn't know much about Xuanjia's affairs. I don't know if the actual situation is like this. Xuanxie nodded at first, then shook his head. Although this is really the case, the power of Xuanji is too strong. Originally, I intended to calm things down, that's all. However, Xuanji has gone too far to destroy me. Otherwise, how could Xuanmo not hesitate to kill each other inside Xuanjia? These forces in front of us are only a small part of the mystery. Even if we cut them off, we can't shake the root of the mystery. But Yi Tian had a faint smile. What if the mystery separates all these forces? How about all the people like here? Even if it can't be completely cut off, one point will be cut off. Otherwise, one day, all of them will be taken to guard Hucho Gorge, or even chased to the spirit realm of Luo Tian. What about Xuandeo? Xian Crack thought to want to continue to spread a sound way, so say, Yi Daoyu already had a good idea? Yi Tian said, I can't talk about a good idea, but I can have a try. Yes, fighting with the monks of the spiritual realm doesn't play much role, but I can try my best to lead a division of the monks of the spiritual realm away. It's up to Xuandeo and Master Yun to decide whether they can take action or not. If we still can't do it after trying, we'll evacuate again. That's what we've done. Master Yun will be more stable in his heart. Well, wait for Xuanmo to discuss with Jiayue. Xian Crack finished saying, began to Cloud Zhong to spread a sound to say, very quickly Cloud Zhong ordered to nod, to Leaf Day cast to appreciate of a glance. Yi Daoyu, you can take action. However, you must be more careful. You must not lose anything. Almost at the same time, the Dark Crack sends a message to Yi Tian. Well, wait patiently, and act according to circumstances. Yi Tian nodded slightly and left the spot. Little by little, nearly half an hour later, the monk of the Xuanjia family in the valley still didn't move at all. Xuanxie and Yunzansi didn't see any airwaves, and Yi Tian seemed to disappear without any news. At the moment when Xuanxie and Yunzhong were suspicious, they suddenly saw that the air in 9 places in the valley was extremely disordered, and then the wind burst out and shot away quickly. Yi Daoyu acted. I don't know what method he used to lead away so many Xuanjia friars. With a happy look, Xuanxie said to Yunzhong that he had already grasped his magic weapon cave in his hand, but he didn't inspire people to release them now. Instead, he let go of his mind and explored the direction of the 9 Xuanjia monks. The 9 members of the Xuanjia family are swept away by the divine thoughts, and they are thousands of miles away. Xuanxie is shocked to find that Yi Tianzheng is in a hidden valley. There are 7 towering magic weapons cave beside him. At the entrance of the cave, there are several nuns coming in and out. The 9 monks of the Xuanjia family flew to the direction where Yi Tian was. 7 magic weapons cave. It's no wonder that the monks of the Xian family rushed to the past regardless of everything. I'm afraid that even if all the 16 monks are so rich, it's reasonable. After all, the monks who own the magic cave are only a few in the Xian family. The most important thing is that the positions of the 2 monks who are most concerned about the highest spiritual realm of Xuanxi all send out airwaves, which shows that the 2 monks who are the highest spiritual realm of Xuanjia are led away by Yi Tian. At this time, Xuanxie and Yunzhong know that they will not neglect each other anymore, and the magic weapon cave in their hands will move quickly, while Xuanxie and Yunzhong's fixed beads will also be thrown away, shooting at the sky over the valley. Then, 11 figures rushed to the valley one after another. Huang Yanqiu and Tu Keqing of the Yun family, with a clear goal, went straight to the place where the monk of Yuanyingjing of the Xian family was in the valley to save people. However, Yunzhong, Xuanxie and the other 6 monks killed the 7 invisible monks of Xuanjia who had already appeared in the white light. This time, Xuanxie and Yunzhong burst out with all their strength as soon as they made a move. There was no room left. Time was pressing. If they didn't take this opportunity to kill several people and wait for the transferred people to come back, the situation would be extremely bad. He was full of rage and had been ready for a long time. He had a flying sword of a half-immortal soldier with a terrible momentum. But between the 2 breaths, he had already killed a friar in the early stage and a friar in the middle stage. Yunzhong also killed a monk in the early stage of transforming the divine realm. All the monks at the peak and later stage of Xuanjiawa's spiritual realm were led away by Yi Tian, and the remaining 7 were in the middle and early stage of the spiritual realm. Compared with Xuanxie and Yunzhong, they were too weak. With the flying sword hovering and flashing, the monk in the Xian family's ambush was suddenly attacked. He hardly had the strength to fight back. Less than 10 breaths, all the 7 people here were killed by Xuanxie and others. Huang Yanqiu's 3 monks have also succeeded in killing more than a dozen Yuanyingjing monks of the Xian family, and rescued 2 of the exiled people. Yunzhong once again released the magic cave, let the 2 people into it, and then gesture a move, the magic cave after shrinking, put it back. Well done. Yi Daoyu did not disappoint us. The mysterious crack idea is always open. At this time, I can't help shouting when I observe the situation in the distance. According to the vision, the 9 monks who flew out had not yet arrived at the valley, but Yi Tian had quickly folded up the magic weapon cave and controlled the shuttle magic weapon to fly away. Wait for that 9 people chase to get close to some. Leaf Day is suddenly put away the shuttle-shaped magic weapon, disappear from the original place. At this time, it was the moment when Xuanxie and Yunzhong attacked the monk of Xuanjia who was lying in ambush in the valley. The Xuanjia friars found out that they had fallen in the trap and gave up pursuing Yi Tian one after another. They flew back to the valley at such a fast speed as lightning. It's a pity that the 2 top monks in the front, the 2 in the later stage, were the fastest, leaving the others behind. But the 5 people behind don't know how, they are trapped in a field by Yi Tian. The 9 Xuanjia friars were divided into 2 groups again. They couldn't take care of both. Father-in-law, Yi Daoyu has created such a good opportunity. If we can't wipe them out, aren't we too incompetent? Shen Crack said one to Cloud Zhong, at the same time to the 4 Xian family friars who flew to meet. At the same time, it is quickly to the rest of a few people voice command a few words. Boom! The distance between the 2 sides is more than 10 feet, and the mysterious sword has already been shot, cutting to the top monk of Washinjing. Although the realm of this man is the same as that of Xian Crack, his strength is much worse than that of Xian Crack. Xian Crack has a long reputation in the Xian family, and this man is very scared. Never fight, first of all, and the heart is weak. In the face of the dark crack of the terrorist offensive immediately fell into the downwind. In addition, the peak monk of Huaxinjing of the famous Xuanjie family was entangled by two late monks of Huaxinjing of Yunzhong and Xuanxie. They fought fiercely. You come and go, and the momentum in the fierce battle was very shocking. The other two monks of the Xuanjie family were surrounded by 7 opponents and fought fiercely. For a moment, the magic weapon sword, the human shadow flashed, the rocks were broken, and the broken wood was flying. It was like a fight between life and death. The scene that 7 Zhuangjiawa monks and a dozen Yuanyingjing monks in the valley were killed by Shencha and others with lightning speed has caused a great shadow to the 4 Zhuangjiawa monks. Now the other side is numerous and powerful, and there is a mysterious crack that no one can fight against. The 4 monks of the Xian family are not interested in fighting at all, and they just want to get away early. However, in the sky, the pearl was hanging high, the dazzling white light covered a large area, and there was a stormy attack around, so there was no chance to retreat. At a certain moment, Xuanxia's body flashed, the handle of the flying sword was in his hand, and then it fell like lightning, like a mountain and a stone. The late monk of Huaxinjing, who was fighting against him, quickly raised his sword to meet him. When the two swords collided with each other, he made a roaring sound. The monk fell down with great force. As soon as his gesture changed, the sword in his hand turned into a streamer and flew to the man's head. At the same time, his body, like a shell, chased him down. Boom! There was a loud noise. The monk could avoid the sword, but he slapped him on the shoulder. In the loud noise, his upper body was like an explosion, and his flesh and blood splashed down on the spot. Xuanxie reaches for a move, and the flying sword turns around in the air and flies back to Xuanxie's hand quickly. Xuanxie holds the sword in his hand, and his figure flashes. He has come to another battle circle. Give it to me. With a loud shout, the sword in his hand gave out a dazzling light and fell straight to the monk in front of him. It's time for Yunzhong's body to flash back, get out of the way, and kill 2 later monks of Huaxinjing. The light of the sword flashed, and the monk at the top of Zhuangjiawa's divine realm quickly resisted. The momentum of Xuanxia's flying sword broke out again, and a terrible wave shot out of the sword and hit the man. Boom! Another loud noise sent out. The monk of Xuanjia, the peak of the spirit realm, was severely impacted. His body suddenly flew back. A huge blood arrow flew out of his body and filled the air with a strong smell of blood. The mysterious crack didn't slow down at all. The sword in his hand drew a sword light again and split to the friar. Then the sword left his hand and flashed away. As the sword light passed through the friar's chest. Boom! When the body of the sword went through the chest, the figure of the man was just like that of the previous monk, which exploded. At this time, the face of Xian Crack was a little white. In order to make a quick decision, it took a lot of mana to make 2 swords in succession. It used the magic power of King Feng Bang, which was never used easily. Just in a moment, the other 2 monks of the Xuanjia family in the later stage of the transformation of the divine realm were seriously injured by the powerful attack of Yunzhong and others, and then they were killed by random swords, and Yuanying was also ground into a pile of broken meat. Follow me. Then, with a low drink, the body still turned into a light and shot away in the distance. This direction is exactly where Yi Tian is. Thousands of miles away, Yi Tian stands coldly outside the shield of the lock sky array, watching the 5 monks of Zhuangjiawa's divine realm who are trapped in it attack the shield fiercely. However, he observes the war situation in the valley. Seeing that Xuanxie had led people to support him, he was a little relieved. This time, it was a risky attack. What he worried most was that if there was a long-term battle on the side of the Xian Fisher, and if there were senior-level monks of the Xian family on his side to support him, Kunlun Xiu, who arranged the array, might not be able to resist. I'm afraid there would be casualties at that time. Even so, because there are too many monks trapped in the shield, and the attack is extremely fierce, the 36 Kunlun practitioners who are in the array are already struggling to support. If the dark crack can't end the battle there for a moment, I'm afraid Yi Tian will finally have to find a way to withdraw from the array and leave. The distance of thousands of miles, not long, Xian Crack and others have arrived. At this time, the 5 Zhuangjiawa monks in the shield had stopped attacking. They got together and looked at Xuanxie and others outside the shield, looking flustered. Without too much language, both sides have a clear hatred. At this point, it's a life and death situation. Originally, there were 16 monks in the realm of God, among whom there were 2 monks at the top of the realm of God. This power is already extremely powerful. Unexpectedly, it was broken by these people in Xuanxie. At this time, there should be no suspense about their fate. Yi Daoyu, you can withdraw from the battle. Xuanxie and the other 10 monks blocked the edge of the field and said a word to Yi Tian. Retreat! With a wave of Yi Tian's hand, many invisible Kunlun Shou flashed his wings behind him to show his divine power of Tian Linji, flashed backward, locked the field shield of Tianjin, and disappeared out of thin air. At the moment when the shield disappeared, Xuanxie and others had already killed the 5 Xuanjie friars. After many Kunlun practitioners released their magic weapon in heaven, their bodies flashed into the cave, and they didn't show their bodies from the beginning to the end. Then, Yi Tian hit the magic cave with a magic power and put it into Shumi commandment. This time, the Kunlun cultivation mana consumption is not small, and it is also in urgent need of recuperation to restore mana. The occupation was far less fierce than that in the valley before. Even a few monks didn't take part in the war, and their bodies were high and shining. The 5 monks of the Xuanjia family were invisible. In a moment, 4 of them had been killed on the spot, and 1 of them was controlled by Xuanjia. When they were cleaning up the aftermath of the battle, Xuanxie fell to the ground and pressed his palm on the top of his head to search for his soul. Bit by bit, about half an hour later, Xuanxie got the news he needed most, and then killed him with 1 palm. His face was a little ugly, and he let everyone into the magic cave. Then he chose a certain direction with Yun Zhong and Yi Tian and flew out for hundreds of miles before falling down. What's the situation? This is a dense forest, the shade is like a canopy, so the 3 people's body shape, Cloud Zhong can't help asking. There are many people in the Xian family, my family, and the father-in-law of the Yun family, who were taken by Xuanji as bait. One of them was in the valley just now. Moreover, Xuanji issued a hunting order and issued a heavy reward for us. If anyone helps us, the mystery claims that we will take cruel revenge. If he doesn't report the information, he will be held responsible if he knows it later. In order to keep up with the Xians, some aristocratic families and clans have sent out people everywhere to investigate us. Among them, the rest of the Cloud family, as well as settling down, have fallen into mystery. Shen Crack looked at the distant sky and said with no expression, as if he was talking about something that had nothing to do with him. His eyes were so cold that even his fingers were rattling. Yun Zhong's face became ugly, and there seemed to be anger in his eyes. I don't care about other people, but the Cloud family. The rest of the Cloud family are also dealing with me? At the beginning, they stood idly by, facing the terrible Xuanjia. I also understood, and there was no reason to blame them. But in order to cling to the Xians, they actually fight against their peers? The Shin Crack sends out a cold hum. This is the wall falls down, people push, the tiger falls flat, the son is bullied by the dog. If one day I can make a comeback, they will have to pay a heavy price. Don't wait for the future. Now our hands are not weak. If you look at those ambush circles and what you can choose, let's move them, especially some families with different surnames. I'll let them see our bloody means. At the moment, Yun Zhong's momentum broke out, and his hair didn't need to be automatic. He was obviously very angry. Xuanxie looked at Yi Tian and said with some embarrassment, Father-in-law, I don't want to be happy now, but we have to escort Yi Daoyu to Tiger Leaping Gorge, and there are people like you and me in the magic weapon cave. At this time, Yi Tian said with a smile, it doesn't matter to Yi. According to my estimation, Tiger Leaping Gorge has been heavily covered by mystery? Shen Crack showed a thoughtful look, very strange, from Xian Rui's memory, there is no news about Tiger Leaping Gorge. Yi Tian nodded slightly and said, that's right. Since Xuanyuan Tiger Leaping Gorge is extremely secret about the space passage, Xuanji doesn't dare to risk divulging the secrets of the whole family and send people in a big way, which makes Xuanyu's family all know. There may not be many people there, but it's definitely the most dangerous place. Instead of being blocked there and sending other people back to encircle, it's better to pull out his paws. So I support Master Yun's plan. What the fuck is? On this matter, the 3 reached a consensus. Back on the road, the goal is still straight to the direction of Tiger Leaping Gorge. Half a day later, in the sky of a lake, when the three were moving forward stealthily, Xuanxie suddenly stopped. Then Yi Tian heard the sound of the mysterious crack, "Find the enemy 2,000 miles ahead." Yun Zhong's figure stopped. "Yi Daoyu, there is no abnormal situation nearby. If not, you don't have to transmit. It's too troublesome to transmit like this." Xian Crack continues to say. Yi Tianyuan's heavenly eye looked around carefully and said, "There's no abnormality. I've checked it several times. It's safe here. Well, it's just that the three of us can see it together." This time, the enemy situation found is quite different from what he learned from Xuanrui's memory. It seems that the situation has changed, and the arrangement of Xuanji's group has been inaccurate. Xian Crack Brow a wrinkly ground says. Yun Zhong gently nodded his head and said, "It's very easy to understand. The Xian family has these people's own soul cards. The broken soul card means that they have fallen, and Xuanrui's soul card broke later than others. These were originally to perform tasks together. Xuanrui was just the cultivation in the early stage of the transformation of the divine realm. There was no reason for him to stay longer than the peak cultivation of the transformation of the divine realm. Therefore, Xuanji should know that Xuanrui was searched, and the plan was adjusted accordingly." Yi Tianpa continued with admiration, "What Master Yun said is very true. Moreover, according to my estimation, the area leading to Hutia Gorge from here is bound to arrange heavy troops, and the mystery of Hutia Gorge must be paid more attention to. Let's not talk about these for the moment. Let's talk about the situation of these opponents, Xuandeu." Xuanxie pondered, "These people are not from the Xuanjia family, but the monks who settle down. There are 9 monks who transform the divine realm. The leader is the family of the highest monks who transformed the divine realm. Originally in Xuanrui's memory, this man controlled 2 members of the Xuanjia family, but now he has not found any trace. What's more, they don't sit in a certain place, but move from the west to the west. That direction is where the Tiger Leaping Gorge is. I just don't know whether the key point is Tiger Leaping Gorge. 9 names turn into divine realm? There should be no problem with this. With Yi Daoyu's array flag, if you attack it separately, you should be able to solve it." Cloud Zhong thought to want to say. "That's what I said. It's just not whether the ancestor who settled down in the Holy Land has come or not. If you let go of the divine thoughts in the far distance, you can find out the situation there at any time. If the mystery lures those people, we will fall into absolute passivity. We have to guard against it." Xian Crack quite some worry ground says. Cloud Zhong hears him to say so, the facial expression can't help but also some dignified rise. "Settle down? Is that the home that destroyed Du Mingyue's appearance?" At this time, Yi Tian suddenly asked. Xiancha nodded, "Yes, Lingsong Mountain is still famous in Lansong Lingyu. Once my father made a marriage between Anya and Shower Xianfeng. Because Fengren knows that Anya is ruthless and unruly, she tries her best to resist, so she sneaks out of the Xian family on the eve of her wedding, and then meets Du Mingyue in Fuyun Mountain. Because at this time, Anya and Xuanji's son, Xianshan, are very close to each other. Unexpectedly, at this time, Anya has openly fallen to Xuanji. Haha, this is also the expected thing. Xuanmo supported him about Fenger, but I was wrong because he didn't protect Xianfeng for the sake of the so-called clan rules. As a result, he was in prison for 30 years. He not only delayed his cultivation, but also felt sorry for Du Mingyue, who asked her to raise Xian by herself and suffered a lot. He said with a lonely look, and a trace of pain appeared on his face. Yi Tian naturally knows something about this home from the memory he got from soul searching. Although the strength of home is strong, it's not the same as the Xuanjia's. After thinking about it for a moment, he said, "I think it's reasonable for the Xuandea to worry about it. Before the fall of the Xuanjia's 16 spiritual monks, home may not know. The 9 monks of setting up a family are not only the whole strength of setting up a family, but also the same. It is absolutely reasonable to protect the elite of the clan secretly. From this we can see that the journey to Tiger Leaping Gorge is even more difficult and dangerous." Xuanxie and Yunzhong both nodded. What Yi Tian said was their worry. Yi Tian continued, "So, I'd like to change my direction, instead of going to Huxiaxia, and turn back to attract the power of Xuanjia in Huxiaxia. Then, I'd like to take the opportunity to fight back unexpectedly. Maybe it won't take much trouble to go to Luo Tian Lingyu. Xuanxie and Yunzhong look at each other and think that what Yi Tian said is very reasonable. If Yi Tian said before, maybe now he has drawn the Xian family's attention to other places. Maybe at this time, he can kill the tiger leaping gorge directly. Two people's eyes have already explained everything. Cloud Zhong thought for a while and said, in the opposite direction, Xin family still has 3 teams, we can take them to attract Xian Ji's attention. Well, that's a happy decision. It shouldn't be too late. Let's go now. With that, Yi Tian steers the fierce sword, turns around and flies to the road. Almost at the same time, a pill is put into his mouth. These days, Yi Tian keeps taking pills like a sugar pill, and they are 2 kinds of pills to assist the growth of mana and mind. Although there is no time to double outside, he is not willing to waste his time on the road. He can improve more. Xuanxie and Yunzhong are used to this kind of situation. They all know that Yi Tian's family is very rich. If they take pills like this, I'm afraid the court children of the Xuanjia family can't reach it. Xuanxie recalled the news from Xuanrui, quickened his pace, took the lead and shot away in the distance. The 3 of them soon disappeared in the vast sky. More than half a day later, the deep crack in the flight stopped first. Yi Tian reaches out his hand and blocks Yunzhong behind him. Then Yunzhong sees the abnormal air fluctuation at the location of the dark crack. 2,000 miles away, I found that 6 monks of mystery are coming here. Shen Crack explained softly. What realm? Yi Tian asked. In the later period of 2 names changing into the divine realm and in the middle period of 4 names changing into the divine realm, all of these 6 people know Xuanmo. The Shen Crack once again felt it time to say. According to my estimation, they should have been ordered to give up their original plan and go to Hucho Gorge. My opinion is to ambush him. Yi Tian pondered. That's what I mean. 6 monks in this realm should be able to finish soon. Yunzhong agreed. Well, according to the opinions of the 2 of you, cut off these minions of Xuanji. Shen cleft bit to bite a tooth to say. With that, the 3 men fell to the ground with a tacit understanding, and then Xuanxie and Yunzhong applied their skills of escaping into the ground. Since the mind of the mysterious crack can find the other party, it should not be long before the other party can also find out the distance of the mysterious crack if they let go of the mind exploration. If the magic weapon cave is released in the air, it is likely to be noticed by the other party. This method of hiding, releasing people, and hiding from the earth has been learned by Xuanxie and Yunzhong. Yi Tian did not enter the underground, but on the ground, carefully observed the situation nearby, if there is any accident, or improvise. Before long, the figure on the ground flashed, and Xuanzhan, Yunzhong, and the monk of Xuanjia and Yunjia came out and came to the ground. These people are all invisible. If Yi Tian doesn't have the magic power of the source eye, he can only judge by the slight fluctuation of the air. Xuanxie whispered a few words, and then he flew to some place in the sky with all the people. All the 11 monks scattered in an inverted U shape, pointing the big gap at the direction of the 6 monks. They hide their bodies and wait quietly. Without too much time, 6 figures come here in a hurry. When all 6 of them flew into the inverted U-shaped mouth, the invisible Xuanxie suddenly burst into a sword and chopped at the front of a mid-term monk of Washenjing. Xuanxie took the lead in the attack, and the others almost simultaneously launched a long-standing and extremely powerful attack on the nearest monk of Xuanjia. These people stealthily attacked, and their realm was 1 level higher than that of the monks of the Xian family. There was no suspense. With the sword of the Xian split, they immediately cut the target into 2 parts. Yunzhong was also successful. The only friar who slightly avoided the attack was stabbed in the back of his heart by Huang Yanqiu's sword. Then 2 swords were cut off and the body was broken on the spot. Before and after the 3 breath time, the battlefield has been cleaned up, the dark crack sends out a signal, and everyone flies away with him. Then the sky became as quiet as before, as if nothing had happened. After 10 breath, only Xuanxie and Yunzhong came out of the ground and watched the first straw stick floating in the air and came to the side. Continue. After Yi Tian spits out 2 words, Xian Crack nods slightly, and continues to go to the southeast far away from Tiger Leaping Gorge. After flying away for less than 2,000 li, Xuanxie stopped again and murmured, "What Yi Daoyu expected is that Xuanjia's troops have withdrawn to Huxiaxia on a large scale. There are 28 monks of Xuanji's branch in front of him." 28? Cloud Zhou Melang looked at Yi Tian, one eye sprouted to retreat idea. What realm? Yi Tian is also brow a wrinkly ground asks away. For names turn into divine realm, 2 in the middle and 2 in the later stages, and the rest are all Yuanying realm. There was a cold smile on his lips, and the meaning was obvious. Yi Tian nodded slightly. "I just said, how can the Xuanji tribe be so powerful? Don't you have too many spiritual realms?" There was a trace of pain on Xuanxie's face, and then his brow stretched out, and he returned to his former coldness. The strength of the Xuanjia family is far beyond the imagination of outsiders. If it wasn't for this, the Xuanjia family would be prosperous for countless years in the Lansang spiritual realm. However, there are many Xuanjia elites who have been buried in my hands, but I am not the one to be slaughtered. Well, get ready to do it. Yi Tian understands Xuanxia's mood and the pain of fighting in the same room. How can he feel the same without being in it? Immediately, Xuanzhan nodded and said hello to Yunzhong. They fled to the ground again, just as before. Soon, the monks of Cloud family and Xuanjia followed. When they entered the underground, Yi Tian pondered a little and also entered the underground. However, the time he entered was relatively short. When Xuanxia and Yunzhong came out, he had already returned to the original place. The encirclement should be larger this time. Although the Xuanji team is short of manpower, there are too many people. Don't let them escape. Zuanshiku said, in turn to the public voice. Each received the order of the friars. All figure a flash came to the designated position. A web of terror forms in a flash. Yi Daoyu, you should be on the side to help. You don't need to do anything. Later, the dark crack sent a message to Yi Tian. Good. Yi Tian answered in thought, even if I want to do it, I don't have that ability. The lowest level of the other side is the monk of Yuanying realm. If I want to kill the monk of this realm, I need several means to use at the same time. Just as everyone was waiting quietly for the last time, Xuanxie suddenly said, the situation has changed. All the monks have gone into the invisible state, or they have found our existence, or they have received the news of the death of the monks who were killed before. Can you sense where they're going? Yi Tian frowned and asked. Shen Crack gently shook his head. The distance is too far, already can't feel, if to near, through aura wave, naturally no problem. Yi Tian pondered, this should be a good thing. Since the Mystery One knows that we are in this direction, I'm afraid that the center of gravity of our forces will tilt to this side. After we try to hit these monks hard, we can detour in the direction of Tiger Leaping Gorge. But now I can't sense the other party's course of action. What if I don't go this way? Shen Crack some helpless ground says. Well, let me seduce them. Yi Tianxiong said fully. Yi Daoyu must not go to danger alone. Shen Crack says in a hurry. But Yi Tian waved his hand and said, it doesn't matter, I will know the weight. After that, he flew forward for a distance and showed his figure as he flew. Then he stopped his flying sword and looked at the distance. Then he took out Dun Tiansua and left quickly. In this way, it's just like that when you suddenly hide and fly away, you find the enemy's trace, and then use the fastest means to fly away. Yi Tian did it very much. He not only put Dun Tiansua at the top speed, but also spent his mana to urge Dun Tiansua. In an instant, he had disappeared in the sky, completely like a fugitive. It's so similar. Shen Crack murmured, and a smile appeared on his lips. If Xianji found Yi Tian, they would take a straight line to catch up with him, just passing here. In order to be safe, Zhuanshigang wants to let the crowd expand the encirclement. As soon as the words are about to exit, they stop. In the telepathy, he found that the 28 invisible monks of the Xuanjia family had all shown their bodies and were flying towards this side. It was obvious that the other side had found the trace of Yi Tian. Ready to take in the net. Shen Crack hard a loose, one by one to the other 10 people sound reminder. In a short time, the 4 fastest monks of Washinjing had fallen far behind the 24 monks of Yuanying, and they came to the encirclement first. What a pity! With a deep sigh, he was the first to rush to a monk of Washinjing. Later, he suddenly took the lead. He chose Washinjing between destroying Yuanyingjing and Washinjing. Moreover, we must not let these phenomenalized deities pass by, so Tian will encounter danger, which is absolutely not allowed to happen. His hand was a signal, and the rest of the people also launched an attack. This time, only 4 people entered the encirclement, and 6 people took part in the attack. The other 5 people did not join in the attack, but were led by Yunzhong to fly back to the 24 Yuanyingjing monks. The 24 Yuanyingjing monks saw that their 4 Yuanyingjing monks had been ambushed. Immediately, their direction changed, and they fled from the inside. The reaction speed is very fast. Come out and chase. Yunzhong immediately gave a big drink, and took Huang Yanqiu and the other 4 to fly away towards the monks of Yuanyingjing. The distance between the two sides was getting closer quickly. Those friars in Yuanyingjing dare not enter the stealth state. In this way, their speed is limited, and they can break the stealth no matter they use the spotlight powder or the pearl. This is not worth the loss. Once again, they showed amazing reaction ability. When Yunzhong and others were chasing this way, 24 Yuanyingjing monks scattered around and chose a direction to fly. There are few people on Yunzhong's side, so it's impossible to catch them all at once. So who can escape depends on his luck. Seeing this, in the process of fleeing away, Yunzhong's magic weapon cave shot forward and quickly enlarged in the air. Just as Yunzhong came near, a magic power closed the ban and yelled at the inside. The monk of Yuanyingjing came out to kill the enemy. Immediately, 4 Yuanyingjing friars jumped out and each chose a target to pursue. Among the 4, 2 of them were the one who had escaped with Yunzhong, while 2 other monks, a man and a woman, were the 2 who were saved in the valley. For a moment, there was a fierce chase in the sky. Even if Yunzhong released 4 Yuanyingjing monks, there were only 9. 9 people chased and killed 24 people, and most of them were not in charge of the hunt. In an instant, they were far away. At this time, the battle on the side of Xuanxie was over, and all the 4 monks of Washinjing were killed by 6 people. Then all the 6 people joined the team of chasing and killing Yuanyingjing monks without stopping. Ka! At this time, Yunzhong killed a monk in Yuanyingjing with his sword and chased another monk in the distance. As you can see from your eyes, the other 4 monks have also succeeded in killing one of them to pursue the next target. Xuanxie and others have also found a target to pursue and kill each other, and they have succeeded in a short time, and they have found a new target. However, there are still 2 monks in Yuanyingjing who disappeared because no one stopped them. It seems that there are still some fish who have escaped from the net. Once the 2 escape far away, and then enter the stealth state, I am afraid it will be very difficult to find them. Since he was short of hands, Yunzhong didn't care. His body flashed again and shortened the distance from the target. His sword shot away and chopped at the monk. The gap between Yuanying realm and Huashan realm is insurmountable. Even higher than the gap between Yuanying realm and Jindan realm, the difference between realms basically determines who is strong and who is weak among monks. But Yi Tian is an exception, which is unmatched by anyone else. At the moment, Yunzhong in the later stage of Washinjing was cut down with a sword. The power of the sword was like destroying the dead. The monk of Yuanyingjing and the Xuanjia family had no resistance, so he tried to escape subconsciously to one side. In his hand, he tried to lift the sword against Yunzhong's terrible sword, trying to defuse part of the attack. But such a terrible sword was like splitting mountains and chopping the sea. He swung away the monk's sword and then fell down. The monk of Yuanyingjing was cut in half by the powerful sword. After that, Yunzhong shakes up his flying sword, turns into a light again, and goes to support a monk of Yuanyingjing, who has gone far away. He is chasing a monk of the same realm in the Xian family, but because they have the same strength, they can't help each other for a while. In a flash, Yunzhong has escaped more than 20 li. By chance, he let go of his mind, but unexpectedly found that a monk in Yuanyingjing of the Xuanjia family, who had disappeared more than 50 li away, was trapped in a transparent shield. He rushed left and right in the shield, trying to break the shield to escape. However, no matter how he used his means, he could not break the solid transparent shield. It's like the battle of a trapped beast. Good boy. Cloud Zhong's lips showed a wisp of smile. This transparent shield, which he was too familiar with, was the extremely powerful field set up by Yi Tian's monks. Although Yi Tian's disciples were invisible when they set up the field, he still recognized it. Unexpectedly, Yi Tian arranged this backhand. In this way, only one monk of Yuanying was able to escape. Yun Zhong let go of his mind and continued to investigate, trying to see if he could find the escaped monk of Yuanying. But he didn't expect that his mind would continue to let go. When he sensed a scene 100 miles away, he was shocked and surprised. 100 miles away, the last monk of Yuanying, who had not been found, was trapped in a sword array. It was Yi Tian, who was in charge of the sword array outside the array, who used to drive the shuttle magic weapon to lure the monk into the ambush circle. I don't know when he will return quietly and intercept the last monk who escaped. Mi Tian sword formation? Yun Zhong is extremely surprised that Yi Tian, a monk in Longmen, can trap Yuanying. When he looks at Yi Tian's sword array carefully, his eyes suddenly coagulate and he immediately recognizes that Yi Tian's sword array is the Mi Tian sword array that Jing Wucai of the Jing family is famous for. After recognizing the sword array, Yun Zhong's shock is even more intense. Yi Tian can get this sword array. It seems that Yi Tian is the monk who killed Jing Wucai. What's more strange is that he can arrange this sword array with the later cultivation of Long Mengmeng, and suppress Yuanying monk in the sword array to no avail. It's incredible. This idea just flashed by. When he was sure that Yi Tian had won, there was no problem, he continued to chase the former monk. At this time, Xuanxie has already killed his opponent. He also finds the monk of Yuanying who is trapped in the sky array. This field shield can only stop the opponent from escaping, but it can't kill him. Xuanxie has seen Yi Tian decorate the field shield twice, because those arrayed men are invisible. He doesn't know who they are. The only thing he can judge is that these arrayed men are not in a high level, and their strength is still under Yi Tian. Since Yi Tian doesn't want his subordinates to show up, Xuanxie naturally understands that this is a kind of protection for Yi Tian's subordinates. After all, these low-level monks are involved in this huge dispute. If they show their true face, it will definitely be an extremely dangerous thing in the future. It's just like when Yi Tian and Yun Zhong broke up and went to the space where the Xian family lived, they didn't agree on any meeting in place. This is also a kind of protection for Yun Zhong. Once Yi Tian fails, even if he is searched by the other party, he can't get more information. Therefore, Xuanxie understands Yi Tian's practice very well, but Yi Tianning spared no effort to help himself and the Cloud family in such a low level, and his heart gave birth to the gratitude that he could not say but could only repay with practical actions. Get out of the battle. The dark crack came to all the fields outside of the shield and swept one eye in all directions. Then I felt some slight aura fluctuations, the shield had disappeared, and those who arranged the array had suddenly gone away, but I couldn't find the way to leave. Xianchan was surprised, but he was not slow in his hand. The flying sword dashed and flew. It turned into a sword curtain, chopped the trapped monk of Yuanying into several pieces, and killed Yuanying, who wanted to escape at the same time. Gesture a move, the other party's Shumi ring has reached the hand of Xiancrack, and then turned to look to the direction of Yi Tian. Since Yun Zhong can detect the location of Yi Tian, as the overall situation of Xuanxie, he is also aware of it. He is always opening his mind to observe the situation around him. In case of the sudden appearance of a powerful group of Xuanji, he can also make contingency plans. Where Yi Tian's mind goes, the fight over there is over. Yi Tian's gesture moves, and many flying swords fly back into the elixir field and disappear. However, he sends out a flying sword and shoots it here. The monk of Yuanying trapped by the sword array was killed by Yi Tian a moment ago. What a strong monk in Longmen! If you grow up in time, you will definitely be a man of great power who can reach the peak of cultivation. Xuanqian looks at a monk in Yuanying who was killed so easily by Yi Tian in Longmen realm. He is greatly shocked in his heart. This idea arises spontaneously. Yi Daoyu, I admire you very much. I think I was in your realm in those years, but I could barely kill 1.5 of the monks in Jindan realm. However, Daoyu chopped the Yuanying realm like chopping melons and vegetables. When Yi Tian comes near, Xuanxie laughs and greets him. Yi Tian laughs, it's just a monk in the early Yuan dynasty. It's not worth mentioning. Let's leave here now. At this time, all the battlefields are over. Captured and fought by the Cloud family and the monks on the side of Xuanxia, there is no need to deliberately clean the battlefields. These people have rushed back from all over the world and will soon get together. Knowing that it was not appropriate to ask more questions at this time, Xuanxia patiently suppressed many doubts in his heart, waved to the crowd, and took the lead to fly away in a certain direction. However, you released a magic weapon cave and quickly enlarged it in the air. 36 Kunlun practitioners who had gathered together quickly disappeared into the cave. Then Yi Tian narrowed the cave again and took it into Xumi Ring. On the other hand, after Xuanxia and Yunzhang left the battlefield for more than 100 miles, they brought them back to the mansion. No longer saying much, they all hid their bodies and fled to the north. They did not earn their bodies until thousands of miles away. Yi Daoyu, next, detour to Hucho Gorge? After 3 people fall in the woods of peace concealment, Xian Crack spreads a voice to ask away. Yi Tian nodded his head and said, Yi also means that, but this trip must be extremely hidden, and can't expose half a trace. In addition, when you finally go to Hucho Gorge, you can catch at least the monks who transform the spirit to search the soul and explore the situation there. If it's Xuanyu, it's the best. If you know yourself and the enemy, you will win 100 battles. Otherwise, it will be very dangerous to break into the phone Xian Crackway. Xian Mao also has this meaning, originally thought to hide from other side branch to transmit array, transmit but go. But the situation over there is not clear. Once the other party has an ambush there, I'm afraid it will be a trap and there will be no room to escape. The space where the space passage is located has a strong field. If you want to transmit, you'd better enter from Hucho Gorge. Even if you can't get in for a while, there is still a way out. Yun Zhong also nodded, and there was no objection. However, he looked at Yi Tian and said, Yi Xiaoyu, your sword array is from the Jing family's Jing Wucai? Yi Tian nodded slightly and said with a smile, nothing can hide the eye of Master Yun. It's just something that Jing Wucai has. This man has evil intentions towards Yi and wants to take my life. Naturally, I can't be polite. Yun Zhong took a deep look at Yi Tian and said, I admire Yi Xiaoyu for his strength and means. However, there is a great monk named Jing Wei Yang in the Jing family who loves the younger generation Jing Wuchou. Yi Xiaoyu killed Jing Wuchou. Be careful of the old monster in the Jing family. Jing Wei Yang? Is that old man with wrinkled face and upside-down eyebrows? Yi Tian eyebrows a pickground asks away. Yes, it's the old monster. Have Yi Xiaoyu met him? Yun Zhong nodded and asked. Yi Tiandao said, yes, after killing Jing Wucai, he killed several people of the Jing family. Maybe he felt something. Soon Jing Weiyan came and left after he got nothing. At that time, Yi was nearby. All this was clear. Can Yi Xiaoyu hide his trace under the search of the great friar in Yupu? It's not easy. Yun Zhong sighed softly. But Yi Tian shook his head gently. At that time, it was nothing. It's just that the great friars of Yupujing, who have settled down now, meddle in the affairs of the Xians, and the old monsters of the Jing family. These 2 great friars of Yupujing alone are dangerous enough. We have to be more careful. If you are really pursued and killed by the great friar of Yupu realm, I'm afraid no matter how careful you are, it won't help. Listen to 2 people say, Xian Crack facial expression is dignified. With a gesture, Yi Tian takes out 10 small moving runes from Zumaji and gives them to Xuanxie and Yunzhong 5 for each. When you meet the great friars of Yupu realm, these small moving runes can be used. If you can use them properly, maybe you can get rid of their pursuit. This is such a precious thing. Yi Daoyu gave us so much. Yun Zhong's eyes were fixed and said that Xiaodiodu is really a rare treasure in the Lansong spiritual realm. It's all because only the great friars in Yupu realm can refine it. The great friars in Yupu realm have the magic power of great Daoyu. Refining this talisman is only for the children and nephews to use as a means to protect their lives. The great friars in Yupujing are not short of resources. They will certainly not spend their magic power to sell amulets in exchange for immortal jade. Therefore, this kind of small moving amulets is priceless and precious in Lansong spiritual realm, and there is basically no way to get them. It's not like there was a special Fudao hall in the wilderness. For the sake of the safety of the human friars, the master of Yupujing Hall made a lot of fudao, which was finally taken away by Yi Tian in the secret library. It's hard to find a small moving rune in the Lansang spiritual realm. Moreover, Yi Tian once said that after he came out of the Xuanjia space, he had spent several precious small moving runes in order to avoid the pursuit of the Xuanjia monks. At this time, Yi Tian sent out such a number, 2 people are embarrassed. Seeing that they were like this, Yi Tian said with a smile, "You are also human beings. Why should you stick to some common things? Any treasure is not as important as your own safety. If you can use it to save your life, it's worth it. I still have some here. If it's enough, you don't have to be polite to Master Yun and Xian Dao Yu." Listen to Yi Tiandu say so. Xian Crack and Cloud Zhone look at each other, nod at each other. This just took in the past. I owe you too much. I really don't know what to do in return. If I'm a woman, I can only offer myself to you. Xuanxie took over the small moving symbol inside. Yi Tian laughs. The speaker didn't mean it, but the listener meant it. On one side, Yun Zhong heard this, and suddenly his eyes twinkled and said to Xuanxie, "Son-in-law, although you are not a woman, don't you have a granddaughter Xian?" Xian? Xian Crack is also a move in the heart, looking at Yi Tian. Yi Tian waved his hand and said, "You are joking. Xian is Ye's disciple. Don't let money confuse generations." Xuanxie pointed at Yi Tian with his finger and said with a smile, "Yi Daoyu is an interesting person. The way of cultivation is against the heaven, so how can you stick to common sense? If you're afraid of disordering your generation, you can drive Xian out of the door wall in a word. Why not? Xian is a good disciple. Yi is not willing to drive her out of the gate wall." Yi Tian said with a smile, and then changed the topic. Master Yun and Xian Dao Yu, after using the small moving symbol, they can send it randomly. As long as they hide their own breath and don't expose their tracks, they can avoid the exploration of the great friars in Yupu realm. Even if the other side uses the fixed body beads or spotlight powder, they can't do anything if they escape far enough. Yi used this method to escape from the exploration of the great friars in Yupu territory many times, so he got out of danger safely. Yi Daoyu's skill of invisibility and evasion is beyond our expectation. If Yi Daoyu has this kind of magic power, even if he is a great monk in Yupu realm, he doesn't have to be so scared. Yun Zhong shook his head helplessly and sighed. Yi Tian deliberately brought up this topic. Seeing that the time was still ripe, he said, "Master Yun, Yu Xian Dao, this kind of supernatural power is not difficult to master. Because Ye's realm is low, he was chased and killed by high-level monks, and most of them had to escape. As time goes by, he realized this kind of supernatural power. If you are interested, ye can talk about 1 or 2 for your reference." Xuanxie and Yunzhong look at each other, and they both see the shock in each other's eyes. Both of them are mature characters. Yi Tian leads to such a topic and says it euphemistically. How can they not understand it in their hearts? Yi Tian wants to give them this kind of magic power, but also takes into account the 2 people's cultivation realm, for fear that they will not be able to pull down their face. Such a magic power is of great use to both of them. Since Yi Tian intends to pass such a secret power on to them, they are naturally not old-fashioned. How can they not accept it? Moreover, in addition to the advantages in age and cultivation, they feel that Yi Tian is much more mature and spicy than himself. How can they escape and face? Yi Tian can be so euphemistic, but they can't just casually accept Yi Tian's magic power. Xuanxie and Yunzhong's eyes touch each other, and they see each other's heart, so they hug Yi Tian and say, "Yi Xiaoyu, I've been greatly favored by you many times. This time, I have to teach you the magic power of evasion. Please accept me." Then they bowed to Yi Tian. Yi Tianchen said with his hand, "Are you going to kill Yi? In this critical autumn, if each of us has more strength, we will have more chances to win. There is no need to be so deliberate. What's more, it's not known whether Ye's experience will be useful to both of you. Let me talk about it for a moment." Xuanxie and Yunzhong got up, nodded slightly and listened to the following. Yi Tian doesn't talk much anymore. He combines his understanding of the nature of the wind with the techniques of evasion, such as how to improve the speed, how to use the wind, how to reduce the resistance, how to accurately manipulate the mana, and how to turn into a clear wind and escape into invisibility. The more Xuanxie and Yunzhong listen, the more frightened they are. The more they listen, the more they admire Yi Tian. Although their accomplishments are high and their mana is strong, their perception of wind attribute is far less than Yi Tian's. Yi Tian has the memory of being a great friar of Yupu realm in his last life, and after a variety of fortunes in this life, he climbed the fairy mountain, which is regarded as an adverse chance. It should be said that his understanding of the nature of wind has reached the peak of perfection. Every word he said is not without words. Xuanxie and Yunzhong, while listening, combined with their own understanding, were intoxicated for a moment, completely immersed in the profound realm described by Yi Tian. It was as if an unknown spiritual realm opened a door to them. Inside the door, there were stars all over the sky, and they were just like naughty children who had never seen the world. Everything was so fresh and dazzling. Until Yi Tian had finished speaking for a long time, they were still immersed in understanding. In their realm, although Yi Tian only talks about the wonderful meanings related to evasion and invisibility, they can draw inferences by analogy and benefit greatly in other aspects. Unconsciously, their comprehensive strength has risen rapidly in this short period of time. Compared with before, they have made great progress. When they wake up from their feelings, they realize that they are so immersed. Yi Daoyu, after listening to your explanation, Xuanmo has benefited a lot, just like a blind man in the sea, suddenly seeing a bright light, the road is confused and suddenly becomes bright. If you don't give up, Xuanxie would like to learn from you sooner or later. Looking at the grass stick shaking in front of the body, Xian Crackeyes said cautiously, that is Yi Tian playing with his fingers, playing with the grass stick on his fingertips. Yi Tian was quite surprised by this move. Looking at his pious appearance, he pondered, why do you want to be a teacher? You know, Yi only has the cultivation of Longmen realm. If it's a joke, let it go. Xian Crackeyes solemnly said, Xian, this word's completely from the heart, no joke meaning. All practitioners are willing to go to the road. There is light ahead. If there is a road, there is a peak, and there is a sea. It's better for a good teacher to say a few words. It has nothing to do with the realm to worship Yi Daoyu as a teacher. After listening to the lesson just now, I deeply felt that Taoist friends are like a vast ocean, and I only got one of them. Good birds choose trees, good horses choose masters, and good disciples choose teachers. Though I am not a good disciple, I sincerely hope that I can learn from my friends and ask them to accept me. Okay, I'll take you. However, in our school, the ranking is in the order of apprenticeship, which has nothing to do with age and realm. Now you'll be behind Xian. If you feel that you can't accept it, let it go. Yi Tian nodded slightly. Hearing this, Xuanxie immediately imagined the embarrassing situation when he called his granddaughter as his elder martial sister. But he immediately put these unimportant things behind him and said to Yi Tianchen, Master, I'm not a person who rigidly adheres to the custom. It doesn't matter. Please accept my 3 respects. Say words. Xian Crack really stealthy in the air, kneel down to Yi Tian kowtow 3 heads. Yi Tiancheng asked him to get up after receiving his big gift. Then he said, it's a special time and a special place. I'll introduce your elder martial brothers and sisters to meet you when I have a chance in the future. Brothers and sisters? Xian Crack smell speechling for a while, ask away, Master, besides Purple Yin, still have other disciple? Yi Tian said with a smile, there are more than one, and there are many? If you are in the 14th place for the time being, call you old 14th. So I can be ranked 15th? The Shen split facial expression one smothers, all the time, and the indecisive Cloud Zhong suddenly spoke. You, father-in-law. Xuanxie said in surprise, and a bad feeling suddenly appeared in his heart. It was obvious that Yunzhong also wanted to worship Yi Tian as his teacher. In this way, it would be lively. His granddaughter became his elder martial sister, but his father-in-law became his younger martial brother. If one day Yi Tian and Xian became Taoist partners, but his master became his son-in-law, I dare not think about it. What's the matter with me? Just now you also said that you are not a person who rigidly adheres to the common rights. Why? You're only allowed to be a teacher? Don't you allow me to be a teacher? Seeing his son-in-law Xuanxie's unwillingness, Yunzhong frowned and said, I don't care. I'm the elder martial brother. If master is willing to accept his father-in-law, I'm not at a loss. Xian Crack finished saying to see to Leaf Sky. Cloud Zhong is also, full face expects ground to wait for Leaf Day to nod. Well, since Mr. Yun doesn't dislike Ye's low level, Yi naturally has no opinion. Yi Tian doesn't want to argue with him anymore. He simply nods and agrees. According to the etiquette, Yun Zhong also gave Yi Tian 3 teacher worship rituals, and then he got up and stood aside respectfully. Looking at the 2 new disciples, Yi Tian is a little sad. It's too dramatic. He used to call them predecessors, and in a flash he became his own disciple. After pondering a little in the original place, Yi Tian goes deep into the underground with Xuanxie and Yunzhong. After digging out the space, he takes out an empty magic weapon cave and enters it. You too, if you have any puzzles in your cultivation, or if you don't understand something, you can say it. As long as you know it, you will be able to give guidance. Yi Tianxiang said to Aputuan. Yunzhong and Xuanxie both had some accidents when they heard that they had the same idea of worshipping Yi Tian as their teacher. Yi Tian had super savvy and had a wide range of cultivation methods. In some aspects, they were really outstanding, even far more than Xuanxie and Yunzhong. But the 2 of them never expected that Yi Tian could instruct themselves in any way. For example, Xuanxie was more impressed by Yi Tian's attainments of Dan Dao and his perception of the 5 elements attribute Taoism, while Yunzhong admired Yi Tian's speed of cultivation because he was aware of Yi Tian's bone age. These are not what Xuanxie and Yunzhong can achieve. Perhaps another point is the expectation of Yi Tian's growth. Maybe Yi Tian can't guide himself in more fields now, but in time, a height Yi Tian can reach is beyond their expectation. Therefore, it is Yi Tian's potential that makes him willing to worship Yi Tian. Compared with the number of forces in hand, each monk pays more attention to the eternal road and immortal life. But since Yi Tian said so, Xuanxie and Yunzhong are not polite. They think about some difficult or confusing points in their cultivation and take them out to ask Yi Tian for advice. What they did not expect was that Yi Tian gave some advice on the problems of self-cultivation and Taoism. Moreover, this kind of guidance is not fish in troubled waters. It points out the crux of the problem in the light of their skills and their own situation. Often a word let them suddenly open up. Some of the answers are problems that they have been thinking about for many years and can't solve. Especially for Xianxia, how to go further from the peak of Huashan realm to the half-step of Yupu realm, so as to break the barrier of realm and break through to the rank of great friars in Yupu realm, has always been his problem. Although the heart is very eager, but always not the door. On this issue, Yi Tian gave a very pertinent method, and gave Xuanxie a few steps to go step by step. When Yi Tian finished, Xuanxie already felt a golden avenue spread in front of his eyes. As long as there was no accident, he would definitely break through the ranks of Yupu realm. Yunzhong also listens attentively when he gives advice to Xianxia. The problems he will encounter are likely to be the problems he will face. Hearing Yi Tian's advice will not only benefit his future cultivation, but also play an important role in the present. During this question and answer period, both Xuanxie and Yunzhong felt that their understanding of cultivation was advancing rapidly. Time goes by bit. I don't know how much time has passed. In the end, both Xuanxie and Yunzhong have asked questions, and all the problems and puzzles are solved by Yi Tian one by one. Master, it's the right choice in my life to be able to worship you as my teacher. I didn't expect that I would be promoted to the rank of great friars in Yupu realm in my life. After silently experiencing every word that Yi Tian said, Shen Crack raised his head and said excitedly. Look at your success, the great friar of Yupujing is your lifelong goal? Yi Tian said with a faint smile. This sentence can't help but let Cloud Zhou Melang, also let Shen Crack suddenly look up to Yi Tian, murmur in the mouth say, isn't it? I've heard rumors that there is Tiangong realm above Yupu realm, but it's just a rumor. So far, no one has ever broken through the rumored Tiangong realm. Who can tell whether this realm exists or not? You don't have to doubt this. Let me tell you, the eternal road we are pursuing is far from enough to reach the Jade Park. The great friar of Yupujing can't survive the 5 declines of heaven and man. If he can't go any further, the great friar of Yupujing will finally return the dust to the dust, the earth to the earth, and finally turn into nothingness. On top of Yupu realm, Tiangong realm is further, and Tiangong realm is not the end. It's beyond your understanding. You should try your best to reach Yupu realm before entering Tiangong realm. Maybe at that time, I can instruct you to go up to the next level and enter the realm of legend. Yi Tian continued. Master, have you seen the great monk in heaven? What Yi Tian said is too mysterious. Shen Crack can't help asking. But Yi Tian laughed. Yes? I've seen more than a teacher. There is a great monk in heaven who has become a brother of life and death. So, in the matter of worshipping a teacher, you have not suffered any loss in terms of seniority. Really, but I have never heard of the presence of a great monk in the heavenly palace in Lansang Lingyu? Cloud Zhong here's here to doubt ground to ask away. Yi Tian laughed again. Lao Shiwu, when did you say that you were the great monk in the heaven palace in Lansang? Master, have you ever been to other spiritual realms? Shen Crack asks away in shock again. A pair of eyes see this leaf sky, full of eyes are startled. Well, being a teacher is not a monk in the Lansang spiritual realm at all, but comes from other spiritual realms. To go to other spiritual realms is just passing by the Lansang spiritual realm. There are many powerful people in the universe, but the Lansang spiritual realm is still too small. Yi Tian shook his head and said. Xuanxie and Yunzhong look at each other and both nod. All the questions have been answered and all the doubts have been solved. If Master is not a monk in Lansang spiritual realm, then everything can be explained. It's too detailed. It's meaningless to talk about it. I'm going to cross some spiritual realms and reach my final destination. What I said just now is not exaggerating. If I can concentrate on the Tao, what can the great monk in heaven count as? Yi Tian's eyes said calmly. This sentence let Shen Crack and Cloud Zhong suddenly feel whole body blood boiling. Two people looked at each other again, saw the appearance that the Shen Crack wants to talk and stop again. Yi Tian asked, Old 14, do you have anything to say? Xuanxia hesitated for a moment and said, Since you have joined the school, can you tell me the origin of the school? Yi Tian nodded and said, It's all right. I'll let you know, so that you can be proud of your school. It is said that the person who was the master's coat and bowl once created an era of great cultivation and civilization in a place called Fengsuan spiritual realm, and finally controlled all the heaven and all the people, and became an amazing person with the highest road. Master, you mean Sui Huan? Hearing this, Xuanxie and Yunzhong screamed out at the same time. Yes, I said it was Sui Huang. Why, have you heard of it? It's Yi Tian's turn to be surprised. Xuanxie said, I have heard that the legend of Sui Huang in Lansang spiritual region is a secret history, which ordinary friars don't know. I have seen relevant records from the ancient books of the Xuanjia family, and I have mentioned them to my father-in-law. I didn't expect that Shifu was the descendant of Sui Huang in legend. However, I don't know how many years it was when the Sui emperor became famous. Later, all kinds of things were blank. Master was only in his 20s. How could he become the successor of the Sui emperor? Everything is just chance. You can only know about it. It's not easy to say it to others. There are some amazing secrets involved in the meeting. And the supreme road that Sui Huang finally achieved is naturally the existence beyond the realm of heaven. Do you believe that? Yi Tian immediately tells away. When Xuanxie and Yunzhong heard the words, their eyes almost glowed, and they felt that their blood was about to boil. They didn't expect that their school had such a background. They even worshipped Yi Tianmen for their position in the Lansang spiritual realm. Yi Tian continued, whether Master Sui Huang or my heavenly palace brother, they should not easily appear in this Lansang spiritual realm. This trip is also my own experience. Therefore, it is up to us to go to the spiritual realm of Luo Tian. I understand, Master, the relationship between us is closer than before. Master doesn't have to worry about how to act. Just say what you have to say. Shen Crack nods to reply away. Yi Tianmo turned and said with a smile, Before, I trusted you both very much, and the relationship between you was firmly established through Xian. If there is any difference between now and before, it may be that I speak more casually. My idea is that in the future actions, you should listen to my arrangement and have different opinions. But what you decide as a teacher must be implemented unconditionally. What I want is execution. Can you do it? Just follow the master's orders. Xian Crack and Cloud Zhong have no problem naturally, almost agreed to come down at the same time. As for the situation of Huqiu Gorge's space passageway, Lao Shishir said carefully that he couldn't miss all the details. As a teacher, he also had a judgment. At this time, Yi Kaikai said the most important thing. According to Yi Tian's command, Xuanxie tells him what he knows about the space passage in detail, including some minor problems. It's very clear where it is, what field protection it has, who guards it at ordinary times, and where the transmission array goes with it. After the introduction, Xuanxie takes out a blank jade slip, depicts a detailed map of Huqiu Gorge in it, confirms it, makes some specific marks in it, and then gives it to Yi Tian. Previously, through language description, Yi Tian had a general understanding of Huqiu Gorge. With this map, the whole situation of Huqiu Gorge has been printed in Yi Tian's mind. Keeping all the information firmly in mind, Yi Tian asked again, Old 14, about the situation of the ancestor of the Xian family, let's introduce it. Can you win it over? Xuanxie pondered, there are 6 ancestors of Yupu realm in the Xuanjia family. When they reach this realm, they will not fight for power and resources. All their minds are focused on practice. Although the Heaven Palace realm mentioned before is only the realm of legendary existence, as long as they reach the Jade Pu realm, no one does not want to reach the peak realm and then make a breakthrough. In particular, Xianqing, Xianshui, Xuanyuan and Xuanqiu were bitter monks in their early years. They didn't care about any family affairs. They were also in the attitude of natural selection to the family affairs. Because they had no distractions, they reached the present level of cultivation. Xuanwu was seldom involved in the affairs of the clan, but he was the ancestor of Xuanji, so he worked hard on the affairs of Xuanji. He was the one who most wanted his disciples to die. Master Xuanmu, the one who banned me, has a good relationship with my father and takes good care of me. At that time, Xuanwu accused me of preaching the invisible law to the outside world, and wanted to ban it in person. Xuanmu Laozu took the lead and was merciful to his disciples. Therefore, the most promising ancestor is Xuanmu. Xuanwu is impossible. If Xianqing, Xianshui, Xuanyuan and Xuanqiu can move their things, or they can help, otherwise they will not interfere even if the Xuanjia family is in trouble. This is the so-called natural selection, master. Isn't it ridiculous? Yi Tian quickly digested the news that Xuanxie had said for a long time. After a moment, he suddenly asked again, who was the strongest among Xianqing, Xianshui, Xuanyuan and Xuanqiu? Xianqing, of course. Qingzu has been in Yupu for more than 600 years, reaching the late stage of Yupu, but in the last 200 years, he has never made a breakthrough and has been staying in the late stage. Xian Crack immediately said. Yi Tian nodded and said, if only I could see this Xianqing ancestor. I have something that can move him in my hands. Is there anything in Master's hand that can be useful to the Great Friar of Yupujing? Xuanxie asked in surprise, you know that when the cultivation reaches the level of Yupu realm, ordinary resources have no effect on the monks in this realm, and the things that can be useful to Yupu realm are very little, so it's very difficult to find. Yi Tian nodded his head slightly and said, yes, I know a kind of god pill, named Fang Niden. If I take this pill, I have a great chance to enter the Heaven Palace from Yupu. Besides, I can refine it as a teacher, but I don't have any ready-made pills in my hand. As a teacher, even if it's a chance, it can move Xianqing. Xianxia thought for a moment and said, Xuanqing's father has been shut up in Xuanjia's space all the year round. As far as the disciples know, he hasn't stepped out of the space for hundreds of years. How else can he be said to be an ascetic? So, which one is better, Xuanmu or Xuanwu? Yi Tian continue to ask away. Xin Crackway, to belong to Xuanwu Laozu's strength is stronger, but as a big monk in Yupu realm, they seldom fight, really fight, no one can help who, and Xuanwu Laozu will not because of the disciple of the spirit of the monk in Xuanwu Laozu tier phase, his maintenance of the disciples is also very limited. What if we add Phoenix Nirvana? As a teacher, you can make a blood oath and refine the Phoenix Nirvana in 100 years, so that you can move him. Yi Tian said with a smile. Xuanzhan immediately looked shocked and blurted out, theoretically speaking, there should be no problem. Based on the disciples' understanding of Xuanmu, he should be moved by Feng Yiden. However, there is another problem. There is Zhu Sun in the Xian family. When there is a disagreement on the succession of the family leader, if the absolutely powerful one can take the place of the family leader, Lao Zhu can't intervene without authorization. This is also the reason why the ancestors of the Xian family worried that the leader of the family was too weak to lead the Xian family to continue to prosper, but suffered too much damage and internal friction. And my team is really weak now. In this case, he will have a lot of scruples if he wants to let Xuanmu Laozu do it. Yi Tian waved his hand and said, "It's not a problem. If you beat the mystery one by one, and make your strength surpass that of the mystery one, then isn't it right for Xuanmu to fight again?" At this time, Xuanxie showed a wry smile. In theory, this is true. But even if Xuanlia's team was killed by our teachers and disciples, their strength is still very strong. Besides, there are other people in the Cloud family who have settled down in the past, as well as other forces who have no intention. This is basically difficult to accomplish. Old 14th, what do you know about the Holy Wingers? Yi Tian did not continue the discussion, but changed the topic. Shen Kraka Lang, Master, this matter has relation with the Holy Wing clan? Yi Tian touched his chin and said, "Does it matter?" It depends on how much you know about the Holy Wing. The more you know, the greater the relationship? Xianchan has never seen Yi Tian's Kunlunxiu. He went out several times to set up an array, but they all came out and came back stealthily. So although he felt a little strange about Yi Tian's words, he introduced them in detail. The Xingyi clan is the most powerful force in the Longsang spiritual realm, and the Xuanjia family can only be ranked second. There are 6 great friars in Yupu, but no one knows how many of them are. It was once seen that the 12 great friars of Yupujing of the Xingyi clan once joined hands to destroy the Shui family, one of the archaic families. The reason is that the Shui family killed a holy wing. However, no one dares to talk about it easily. Disrespect to the Holy Wing will also be punished, so few monks know about it. Over the years, the Xians have collected some information about the Xingyi people through different channels, so they know about it. That was the most time that the Holy Wing clan sent out the great friars of Yupu realm. Even if all the great friars of the clan were sent out that time, it was extremely terrifying. Think about the 12 great friars, what a powerful force they have. Moreover, it is very likely that these 12 great friars of Yupu kingdom are not all of the great friars of Xingyi clan. Although the number of Xingyi people is very small, they also become the first force in Longsang spirit realm by virtue of the number of great monks in Yupu realm. It's said that the reason why so many great friars of Yupu realm came out of the Xingyi clan is related to the fact that the Xingyi clan is good at refining pills, but no one knows where they live. According to the analysis, they should also occupy a certain space. And that space should be rich in Linkai. Because no one has ever seen the Xingyi people go out to buy Dankai, this inference should be reasonable. The news is not much different from what Yi Tian has learned. There is not much nutritional value. After thinking about it, he continued to ask, "Is there any way to find the Holy Wing?" Xuanxie shook his head, "It's hard. The Xingyi people seldom walk outside. If someone bullies the Xingyi people in a low level, and the master happens to be nearby, then there should be a certain chance to see the Xingyi people appear to defend. But I'm not sure. After all, no one dares to bully the Xingyi people. The lesson of bullying the Xingyi people is too painful. No one can afford it." Yi Tian nodded and asked, "It's said that the Holy Wing people are polite, and they are good at fighting against injustice. Is this true?" "That's good. I know something about it. However, there are too many unfair things in the world. Xingyi people are chivalrous and can manage them when they encounter them. However, they are not the law enforcers and guardians of Longsang spiritual realm. They can manage everything and can't manage them at all." Xuanxie shook his head and said with a bitter smile. Speaking of this, Yi Tian stood up and said to Xuanxie and Yunzhong, "Wait a moment." Then Yi Tian went out. Soon after, he came in again, but he didn't come in alone. Behind him was a Kunlun monk, Ko Yuanshuan, the leader of many Kunlun practitioners. Xingyi people. Seeing Ko Yuanshuan, Xuanxie and Yunzhong stand up from the futon in astonishment. Yi Tian waved his hand and said to Ko Yuanxuan, "You've been invisible many times. Now you've worshipped me. This is the 14th disciple, and this is the 15th disciple." With these words, Yi Tian points to Xuanxie and Yunzhong. See the 14th and the 15th for disciples. Ko Yuanxuan, who was extremely polite, immediately paid homage to Xuanxie and Yunzhong. I don't deserve it. I don't deserve it. Xian Crack Urgent Cloud Zhong quickly stretched out a hand to mix ground to sea to leaf sky. Yi Tian had expected such a scene, and then he said with a smile, "Old 14, old 15, this is Ko Yuanxuan, a younger disciple of our sect. Do you see if he is very similar to the Xingyi clan?" After hearing the words, he repressed the shock in his heart. He looked at Ko Yuanxuan carefully, looked at the meat wings behind him, and saw that there were only white eyes, but no black pupils. All these were completely consistent with the Xingyi clan. But when he saw the palm of Ko Yuanxuan's hand, he suddenly shook his head and said, "The rest of the place is exactly the same, but the palm is different. The palm of the Holy Wing clan that the disciple saw has extremely sharp claws, such as falcon, tiger and leopard." As soon as his words were finished, Ko Yuanxuan's hand suddenly changed. On the meat palm that was originally like a human hand, he suddenly had 10 sharp claws, which looked extremely frightening. "Yes, that's what it looks like. That's what the Holy Wing looked like," Xian Crack repeatedly exclaimed, but his face was excited. Shifu has already had such a close relationship with the Xingyi clan. The next thing is much easier. "Old 14th, are you sure that's what the Holy Wingers are like? Is there any mistake?" Yi Tian asked again uneasily. "That's right, Shifu. I can guarantee my life. I've seen Kunlun Xiu with my own eyes." "That's right." Xuanxie took a closer look at Ko Yuanxuan and said firmly. Xian once recognized Kunlun Xiu and regarded it as the Holy Wing clan, but now Xuanxie is the same. The two-phase verification, together with the statement from the jade slips that the Xingyi clan came from the earth and the stars, Yi Tian has been able to confirm that the Xingyi clan and the Kunlun sect share the same ancestry and are originally one family. When he recognized this point, he did not continue to waste time on Kunlun cultivation. Instead, he took Ko Yuanxuan and left the cave, took out the cave where Kunlun Xiu lived, sent him into it, and finished it well and returned to Xuanxie and Yunzhong. After sitting down, Yi Tiandao said, "Now is the time to sort out all the relationships, which can be used and which people can fight for, so as to avoid danger. There is no way to deal with it. Now I have a preliminary plan of action. I don't have to rush into Hucho Gorge. That's the best way. We should take the Xingyi disciples of the division as a link, strive to get in touch with the Xingyi people, get their support, try our best to kill the Xuanji group, and then get the support of Ebony, so that the old 14 can regain control of the Xuanjie family. In this way, the Hucho Gorge space passage can naturally be solved." "Well, Master, this plan is really killing 3 birds with 1 stone, but the details need to be well planned." Xian Crack thought carefully for a while, ponder away. Yi Tiandao said, "The things planned can only be changed according to circumstances, but there are several variables to carry out. One is Xuanwu's ancestor, the other is the Yupu's old monster who settled down, and the other is the Jing's old monster. If you encounter these old monsters, even one of them, before you get the support of the Holy Wing, it will have an impact on the plan. There are dozens of Xingyi disciples, but I don't want to let anyone have an accident. This is my bottom line." "Dozens of people?" Xuanxie's eyes were fixed, and he said, "Master is indeed a mysterious existence. It's incredible that the younger disciples have the highest cultivation in the Golden Elixir realm, and Master. Do you mean Master's level is low? Do you believe that I will enter heaven earlier than you?" Yi Tianqin said angrily. Xin, of course I believe that. It's still between the two sides whether the disciple can enter the heaven palace. Now even the Jade Pu realm has not been pasted on it. Who dares to say what will happen in the future?" Xian Crack hastily accompanied Smile Wei. Yi Tianling snorted, "If my Yi Tian's disciples can't enter the heaven palace, how stupid will they be? If you don't have this self-confidence, I'll drive you out of the door now." Yes, of course I have this confidence." Xuanxie nodded in a hurry. When Yi Tian saw that the fire was almost finished, he no longer pretended to be forced. It was not easy to have these two disciples who transformed the divine realm. He gave them some sticks and carrots, and then he had to eat in a trough to continue to accomplish his final goal. See Shin Crack's self-confident appearance, Yi Tian's satisfaction spot not away. Next, what kind of situation will meet, who also can't say well, should prepare the bottom card or wanna prepare? Master, what else do you have? Shin Crack curiously asks away. The cloud zhong that has not spoken from beginning to end also cast eyes to Leaf Day. Yi Tian took out a spirit beast ring from Shumi Commandment and said, I have thousands of 5-level monsters here. Each of you has 500 to recognize the Lord. How to use them at that time? I'll listen to my teacher's instructions. How many? Shin Crack thought that he heard wrong, and quickly asked again. 1,000 5-level monsters, old 14, have you heard clearly this time? The Leaf Day sees Shin Crack's surprised appearance. In the heart clear, this number is really very frightening, then repeated once more. At the beginning, inflammation fears hand over to oneself of time. Oneself also was surprised. He thought over and over again before he decided to use them. Now his own strength is obviously insufficient, and the strength of his mind is not enough to mark them with the brand of mind and complete the recognition of the Lord. In this way, these 1,000 monsters, like waste on their own, cannot play a role at all, and having them is equal to not having them. However, both Xuanxie and Yunzhong are monks of Washinjing, but they can. This 1,000 monsters is one of the important cards that he will rely on in the future. If he had not accepted Xuanxie and Yunzhong as his disciples, and after such a long time of observation, he felt that he could be trusted, otherwise he would not have easily given these monsters to anyone. Master, how did you get these 1,000 5-level monsters? This is absolutely sensational. I still don't believe this fact. It's just from the Heavenly Palace elder brother who is the teacher. He is the leader of the human race in a certain spiritual realm and controls all the friars of the human race. There are nearly 100 friars in Yupu realm alone. It's so pleasant to drink and have tea with those friars in Yupu realm every day. I can't imagine that there is no such treatment in this Lansang spiritual realm. Yi Tianpa said with exaggeration, that is just to add some aura for himself, so that his two disciples can have more confidence in themselves. However, although Xuanxie and Yunzhong thought it was very mysterious, they believed it because it was Yi Tian. Otherwise, how to explain the 1,000 monsters? At this time, Yi Tian said no more and took out an empty spirit beast ring and gave it to Yunzhong, so that they could recognize those monsters as masters immediately. They know that this is a big event, and they don't neglect it anymore. Xuanxie recognizes the spirit beast ring with thousands of monsters. After taking out a monster to control, they give it to Yunzhong to make a divine thought, and then take another one to recognize the Lord himself. The 5-level monsters sent by Yan Lai are very powerful. They are basically between the later stage of the 5th level and the peak of the 5th level. If the realm is lower, maybe Yi Tian will have the ability to recognize the Lord. One monster is taken out, and then 2 people recognize the Lord, and then send it into the spirit beast ring, and continue to take out the spirit beast to mark the spirit. It's a long process. I don't know how long it took. At last, 1,000 monsters were recognized by Xuanxie and Yunzhong, each of 50. Finally, they let out a long breath. It's not easy for them to make a mark on the spirit of such a demon for a long time. Their spirit consumption is very large. After a day's recovery in the cave, their mind returned to its peak. During this period of time, Yi Tian went to the time and space tower for self-cultivation. When he saw Xuanxie and Yunzhong come out of the magic cave, Yi Tian stopped practicing, informed Qin Luo got an ear, left the time and space tower, and then put it away. How's it going? How's it going? See 2 people full-faced joyful appearance, Leaf Day asks away. Master, this time I have a lot of confidence. Thousands of 5-level monsters are equivalent to thousands of monks in Yuanyingjing. Even if they besiege the monks in Xinjing, they will kill them for a while. If you can't deal with it well, I'm afraid the monk in the spirit realm will also be buried in the hands of monsters. Shen Crack Eyes a Cold Ground says. Listening to Xuanxie's words, Yi Tian's eyes pulled out and said in a hurry, these monsters are for teachers. They want to be taken to other spiritual regions to make seeds. They can be used to meet the enemy, but they must not make unnecessary sacrifices. Yes, I understand. I was reckless just now. Xian Crack Sea Leaf Day a serious appearance, believe true, quickly admit a mistake. Well, how to use these spirit beasts, I said before, just listen to me. Yi Tian waved his hand and said. What's the next step? Xian Crack nodded and asked away. Yi Tian said, I thought I had planned to lead the Holy Wing people out through a big war. In this war, we can't fight with the opponents who are too high, especially the great friars of Yupu. The danger is small, but the momentum is huge. As a teacher at that time, the disciples of the Holy Wing will shine on the stage. The idea of their own simple set again, Xian Crack and Cloud Zhong naturally have no opinion. The three men took the magic weapon cave and went to the ground stealthily. This time Tu Dun, Xian Xie and Yin Zhong combined the techniques of Tu Dun taught by Yi Tian, which not only made the speed much faster than before, but also greatly reduced the fluctuation. It's just a first attempt, and it's not completely handy, but with the rising of your underground height, it's gradually improving. If I had met my master 50 years ago, I'm afraid I would have been one of the great friars in Yupujing by now. Feeling the great change brought by Yi Tian's 3 words to his escape speed, Xuanxie sincerely sends a message to Yi Tian. 50 years? Ha ha. Yi Tian smiles. Yes, Shifu is only 20 years old. 50 years ago, I was. Look, I'm so confused. Xian Crack shook his head and laughed at himself. Well, I'll go to the air later and practice the wind attribute Taoism that I taught you. Yi Tian said a word and stopped talking. Since the relationship between them had changed, he found that the two monks' personalities had changed, and they were no longer the same as before. Maybe this is the feeling of intimacy. According to Yi Tian, they are not in a hurry. Instead, they fly away and Yi Tian points them out. Xuanxie and Yunzhong have good understanding and high level. After Yi Tian's several instructions, they have grasped the essence of some incomprehensible points. Escape speed, concealment of breath and control of air fluctuation have become better and better. I believe with the increase of application, it will become more perfect. Along the way, it was not boring. Later, without Yi Tian's guidance, the two people realized by themselves, and gradually achieved the subtle treatment, which became more and more perfect. Until Yi Tian is completely satisfied with their escape speed, the three of them just put up their speed and go towards Huqiu Gorge. In the next few days, it was surprisingly calm. Except for the occasional flash of light in the sky, it seemed that some unrelated monks did not know where they were going. Yi Tian and others just hid their tracks and did not have any intersection with each other. On the 5th day, a group of 3 people had arrived at the range of Puti Mountain. 2 days further, they could reach Huqiu Gorge. Yi Tian still hasn't met any monks of the Xian family. His plan to find a fight for the Xian family's hands has never been fulfilled. It's so calm that Yi Tian is not at ease. All this seems too abnormal. Xian family should not be so calm. Not only Yi Tian, but also Xian Crack and Yun Zhong's look became more and more dignified. Follow me and take a detour. In this case, Yi Tian had a bad premonition in his heart. He said something to Xuanxie and Yunzhong, and ran away in a direction slightly away from Huqiu Gorge. Xuanxie and Yunzhong didn't ask anything, but they followed Yi Tian with their hearts and minds, and quickly followed Feiduan. Find the enemy. After counting the breath, Xian Crack didn't even lower his voice. He said in a loud voice, hundreds of monks are coming this way in the direction of Huqiu Gorge. They are only 3,000 miles away from here. They were invisible before, but now they are in shape. The direction is very clear. It must be for us. They are flying at full speed. Hell, how can they find us, and what's the state of being 3,000 miles away? Yi Tian sped up the speed of escape. While flying away, he asked, more than 3,000 miles away, his mind can't be sensed. There are more than 50 people in Xinjiang, and more than 300 people in Yuanying, just judging from the speed of escape. The concrete realm can only be judged accurately when it is near. Xian Crack says urgently. It's strange. Since the Xians can sense the existence of the three of us, there should be a great friar from Yupujing. However, we should be more careful. Yi Tian murmured and began to pay attention to the surrounding sky. What's that? All of a sudden, Yi Tian found a black spot which was almost invisible to the naked eye. He murmured and opened his mind to investigate. Do you know why the people of the Xian family can find us? See clear that black spot is what thing, Yi Tian voice coldly says. It turned out to be the 6th level golden eye statue of the man on the keel of Mayfly Mountain. Without waiting for Yi Tian to say what the black spot is, Xuanxie is the first to tell the origin of the demon bird in the sky. Xuanmo was reduced to the point where even the old dragon monster stepped on it. This man and this carving Xuanmo must be killed. Xuanxie's momentum burst out with a loud drink, and his body burst up and flew straight to the black spot in the sky. Old 14th, don't mess around when he comes back. Yi Tian quickly drinks the voice is very severe, revealed when the master's domineering. It's true that Shen Crack said that the demon bird in the sky is the golden eye god carving, which is very similar to the golden carving method formed by Jing Wucai. A pair of golden eyes emit fierce light and are staring at their own direction. The body of the sculpture is huge, and its wings can be spread about 3 feet. Although it is very high from the ground, its eyesight is amazing, and its reaction shows that it can see through the invisibility of the 3 of them. Hearing Yi Tian's shouts, Xuanxie turns back suddenly, turns into a light and falls on Yi Tian's side, saying, the Xuangu master is just a later cultivation of the spirit state. He met his disciples before, and he was very kind to him. I didn't expect that he turned around today and stabbed his disciples in the back. It's really hard to bear this. Follow me. It's a small matter of gratitude and resentment, but a big one of meeting the enemy. Yi Tianko said that he had already sent out Dun Tiansua to shoot at the way of coming. There were no more cracks. He and Yun Zhong followed him closely and quickly fled to the distance. On the way, Yi Tian continued, the speed of the 6th level golden eye statue is extremely fast, which can't be compared with the same realm of human monks. This carving has the magic power of the eye of heaven. It can see through and be invisible. There must be no way for us to escape. The most urgent task is to use the advantage of speed to get rid of the other party's Yuanyingjing friars, and then first kill the catching up Washingjing friars, and then kill the following Yuanyingjing friars. Success or failure in this battle, since you can't kill the golden eye god eagle, then kill the forces of Xuanji. If the great friar of Yupu comes, old 14 will arrange the field of the 8-pole array to be trapped. If there are 2 great friars in Yupu, they will try their best to gather up their hands and use small moving symbols to avoid each other. In this way, the loss of manpower is certain, but even if we use the small shift sign now, the 3 of us will be separated and our forces will be scattered. The golden eye god eagle will definitely find one of our 3 masters and disciples, so that we can defeat each other. It's better to fight back first. Everything is up to master. Xuanxie nodded, looked at Yunzhong, gritted his teeth and said, this matter is bad for the people on the keel and the golden eye god carving. From then on, we will have no escape. After this war, I'll try to get rid of it. Step by step Yi Tian quickly pacifies Xuanxie, fearing that he will leave the team in anger and do it alone. I understand. The Xian Crack suppresses the anger in the heart and nods away. When the mysterious people come near, first release 500 monsters. Regardless of life or death, kill the pursuers. The rest of the monsters will be released after my order is issued. Then Yi Tian's heart is cruel and continues to say, I understand. Shen Crack and Cloud Zhong promise at the same time, already ready. Among the 3, although Yi Tian used Dun Tiansua, his speed is still the slowest. After all, the speed of half-step transformation is much slower than that of real transformation. After a while, more than 50 figures appeared in the sky behind, and they were approaching quickly. In the sky, they followed Yi Tian and others in the golden eye carving, and they made several calls from time to time. I don't know when a figure appeared on the back of the golden eye statue. Sitting on the back of the statue, Yi Tian saw that he was a thin, dry old man. Should this person be the person on the keel in the dark crack? Yi Tian quickly analyzes the situation in front of him. At a certain moment, Yi Tian quickly sends a message to the mysterious crack, old 14 is here to fight with them. You and old 15 are separated from each other for a certain distance. First you release the friars, and then each releases half of the monsters. They attack each other back and forth, so as not to avoid each other's fighting, and the monsters will not have the unexpected effect. I set up a field here to trap some of the other party's hands, so as to attract them to rescue. If they rescue, they will be annihilated. If they don't, they will be robbed. After hearing that his body slowed down, Xuanzhan stopped at the same place, motioned and released the magic weapon cave. Then 6 monks, including Xianmeng and Xianjun, flew out of the cave. While Tian slowed down, he said his plan to Yunzhong again, and the distance between them was more than 10 miles. Almost at the same time, Tian's magic weapon cave and Yunzhong's magic weapon cave are sold at the same time. In Yunzhong's magic weapon cave, Huang Yanxiu and 2 Cloud family worshippers appear, and then the magic weapon cave is collected by Yunzhong. After Tian's magic weapon cave was enlarged, no one was seen, but Tian narrowed it down and took it away. However, 36 Kunlun Xiu, who were holding the flag of Sky Locking Array, had already left the cave, and their wings turned into heavenly wings. It seemed that they had moved in a short distance between the flashes. Generally, a circle of 5 or 6 li was arranged, waiting for the place to enter the array, surround and start the field shield at any time. Tian says a few words to Yunzhong. Yunzhong nods slightly and takes Huang Yanxiu and other 4 people to meet the following soldiers. What he was most worried about was that when he stimulated the field, his Kunlun monks would suffer from the impact of the enemy's monks in the spirit realm and suffer some damage, so that Yunzhong would be able to cover the positive impact of the Xuanjia monks. At this time, Tian, Xuanxia and Yunzhong were divided into 3 parts in the sky, which seemed to form the potential of horns. The 53 monks of the Xuanjia family have come close, and they have been divided into 3 groups during their flight. Among them, 20 of them go straight to Yunzhong and others. Another 20 monks came to Xuanxia and other 4 people, but only Tian was the target of more than 10 people. You still seem to value me very much. Tian's heart of joy, immediately eyes a coagulation, a loud drink, array, put the beast. The 11 monks of Washenjing who came to him were just entering the area of Suatan formation. With Tian's loud drink, 18 of them remained in the same place near their own Kunlun cultivation, while the 18 Kunlun practitioners who were responsible for closing up were flashing. The Xuanjia friars who followed them quickly followed up. Within 2 breaths, Ko Yuanshuan poured a magic into the array flag. Bang, lock sky array field suddenly started, the 11 monks trapped in it. Show up. Then, Tian yells again and arranges 36 Kunlun practitioners in the field to remove the hidden killing technique, showing their bodies in the sky. At this time, Xuanxia and Yunzhong have already made some moves. Facing the fast light, they lock half of the demons in the spirit beast ring and release them in an instant. At the place where the crack is located, 250 monsters suddenly appear and collide with the other 20 monks. The scene is extremely spectacular. Xuanxia and the other 6 monks were caught in the herd and rushed to each other first. This group of Xuanjia friars saw so many monsters at first sight, and they didn't rush into the herd. In one of them's loud cheers, they all flashed back, scattered and didn't meet the monsters. With a sneer, one of them sent his hair to the more than 200 monsters. After receiving his instructions, the monsters did not pursue the 20 monks who had escaped. Instead, they deflected an angle and went to the group of monks who rushed to Yunzhong, breaking their way. Just at this time, the 250 monsters released by Yunzhong also scared back the more than 20 monks who came after them. Between the flight and retreat, they just bumped into the herd under the command of Xuanxia. A big fight is imminent. In the blink of an eye, the situation in the battlefield changed from 3 groups of monks of the Xuanjia family chasing Tian, Xuanxia and Yunzhong. One group of 11 of them was trapped in the field of the sky array, the other group was frightened by the monsters released by Xuanxia, and the last group was attacked by Xuanxia and Yunzhong. The fight between the 2 sides was heated from the beginning, and the scene was extremely dangerous. There were 11 monks in Xuanxia and Yunzhong, together with 505 level monsters, who scattered the more than 20 monks in an instant. 30 or 40 monsters are surrounded by a monk in the spirit realm. Although the number of monsters is only 5 levels, their attack power is like destroying the withered and decaying. Especially when these monsters are completely fierce and fearless of death, they are extremely frightening. The monks have already had some achievements. However, within a few minutes, a monk of the Xuanjia family has been killed and fallen in the middle of the spiritual realm.